So I got to ask you about a previous book in your series about the murder of JFK. So at the time, I remember you were attacked for being like a conspiracy nut for suggesting the Warren Commission wasn't fully accurate. Do you feel vindicated, however many years later?
We did so much meticulous research on killing Kennedy, and we got, for the first time, the FBI reports about what actually happened. So many people have made so much money off this assassination by saying, oh, it was this, and it was a grassy knoll, and then it was Fidel Castro, and then they got that. We basically just went right down the line, but I couldn't answer one question, and to this day it drives me crazy. Lee Harvey Oswald shot Kennedy.
Right.
Okay? He did it. But one of the guys who was friends with Lee Harvey Oswald was George de Mohrenschildt.
Exactly.
A CIA operative, not an agent. De Mohrenschildt was a Russian living in America. And he taught at Bishop College, a black college in Dallas. And de Mohrenschildt, Lee Harvey Oswald was a crude, uneducated man.
Yes.
Could barely put sentences together. De Mohrenschildt was an aristocrat.
White Russian.
Right. Why was he hanging around with Lee Harvey Oswald?
It's funny, he could barely put a sentence together, but somehow in two languages.
Not only that, his cousin, Marilyn Muret, said he was able to read books at an encyclopedic level. He had 32 books checked out of the New Orleans Public Library. His own family said he had almost a photographic memory, was able to read books and become a font. John Muret and also Dorothy Muret, who we'll cover on Tuesday, both of them said he was the smartest guy in the family and knew more than all of them put together, was able to read a book and memorize it in one reading.
And he was ahead of the class too, right? You said he was like the president.
Well, he was voted president of the class when he was in New York, but that could be a popularity thing. The fact that O'Reilly probably had more mistakes in that 90-second soundbite than any man in the history of JFK research. Okay, first of all, he was into the conspiracy for many years, covering it as a local reporter in Dallas, and was pursuing George de Mohrenschildt, who he can't get his mind around, who he emphatically says, was an agent. What do you say? He was a Russian agent, or?
Yes, he was a Russian.
Okay, best friends with George Bush, writes him a letter right before he kills himself. George Bush writes him back a letter saying, I can't help you, George, the other George. He's tied into Colonel Burris, who is the military attaché of LBJ, the go-to guy for any defense questions was Colonel Burris. He writes letters, and he's supposed to meet with Colonel Burris with the president of Haiti, who was a puppet that we had selected. The CIA had selected this puppet. The book that he's talking about, Killing Kennedy, is about 5 pages long. It's written by his ghostwriter. It's a joke. It's a Reader's Digest condensed version of the Warren Commission, not even considered a book on the JFK genre and research. Why Tucker would give him that amount of oxygen and agree repeatedly over and over and over to a position that Tucker supposedly had 2 years ago is bizarre to me. I have no understanding why he would do that. And the fact that it's still the same arrogant Bill O'Reilly shows you why we're probably better off without him on the air.
Yeah, I mean, but he said it himself, right? No, the FBI came and straightened him out. So I guess he had O'Reilly, you're right. So I guess he had his own James Robenholt or whatever.
Yeah, Robenholt. The reality of it is he completely switched his position, not unlike Dan Moldea, who wrote the assassination of RFK and said it was a conspiracy, then flipped and became an anti-conspiracy RFK assassination expert. Somebody got to Dan Moldea, who then was the handler for Thane Eugene Caesar, the actual assassin of RFK. You can't make this stuff up. I mean, it's just, he's such a douchebag, O'Reilly, to come out with that. you know.
It makes me question Tucker, though. You know,
It does. Absolutely does.
It's like,
Absolutely. This guy, Tucker, goes back and forth on so many important things where he just keeps switching his position like a pendulum.
It's like, going back to the deep state, Tuck. You know, what's up here? The CIA give you a call. Dad say, hey.
Somebody got to him somebody got to him to put Bill O'Reilly on for the 60th anniversary to talk about his mindless little book that covered everything. You understand? O'Reilly went down the rabbit holes. Yeah.
We had it.
I could talk to O'Reilly in 20 minutes and throw out 40 names that he's never heard of in his fucking life. That's how stupid this book is and how retarded he is regarding the assassination. Now, as you pointed out, speaking of retards in the assassination, Eric has pointed out that the COPA conference, which we're not going to this year, Eric and I are going to the JFK Lancer conference, which is the all-star team of conferences down there, by the way. The COPA one has one of the top experts, two of the top experts in the JFK assassination speaking this year. The top two guys that we all mention all the time, one of them, of course, as you're well aware, Alec Baldwin, the leading expert on the assassination, who's probably seen every one of our episodes and has heard me speak about this subject for 2 years, has now decided to become an expert and be the guest speaker or lead speaker at the COPA conference in Dallas. The second guy,
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. I take it back. The Wexler. Is it the Wexler?
Cyril Wecht.
The Cyril Wecht conference, right?
Yeah.
Honoring Cyril Wecht, who was a coroner down there. So that's a top one. But is it COPA? Yeah, but they're down there, right?
It's CAPA, right? Citizens Against Political. The dumbest name in the world. It's like, oh wait, is there CAFA? Citizens for? You know?
Well, it's an old organization. It goes back to the 70s.
I'm sure, but it's like, we just don't like these political assassinations.
Yeah, we got some other kinds are good, like the one with Tupac. the one where Tupac was assassinated by a guy who just basically confessed in his own memoir, which is not a good place to confess, who was picked up today by Las Vegas detectives. Anyway, the point of the matter is the second guy that Alec Baldwin is bringing with him, who is, of course, one of the leading experts on LBJ and the assassination, is a fat fuck named Rob Reiner, who, a.k.a. Meathead, who made a movie with Woody Harrelson called LBJ, which was written by a PA at Dancing with the Stars. Okay, I just want you to know who wrote the script. No, because I had to find out. So the guy was a PA, gopher at Dancing with the Stars, and he had a script called LBJ that Rob Reiner said, this looks like Hallmark Hall of Fame. This is great. There's no conspiracy.
Brilliant.
It's a brilliant script. He never did anything. And he gets Woody Harrelson, who is ripe for anything, regarding stuff like that. I don't begrudge Woody Harrelson. He actually does an incredibly great job as LBJ. And the point of the matter is Rob Reiner is going to the conference to speak about the conspiracy to kill Kennedy. The two leading experts, the deep state, going into the bullpen this year, Eric, to bring out the best and the brightest.
You know what? Maybe they'll get a trifecta and get Stephen King to show up too. We can get all the.
I didn't think of. I didn't think about Stephen King, but that would be the third wheel. Imagine sitting around with the three of them, and then Oliver Stone joins them at the table. So there's four, and they go, "What's up, boys?" And he starts having a conversation with them. Wow!
Oh my God, that would kill me. But
wow.
You know what? I know that the chat was buzzing, Twitter was buzzing before we even came on. Cernovich's list has put out a tweet too, talking about it. Here we go. RFK's announcing
independent. Here we go. Groubert vindicated. I like this, Hunley. Telephone call for Robert Barnes. Telephone. I mean, come on. It was obvious, bro. This is a Trojan horse against Trump. This guy is going to suck money out of the political independent landfill until Biden sends him a check himself.
Yep. And Cernovich released a video. I didn't get through all of it. But he sat there talking about, he goes, all of these people, he said, you don't get it. I've known Bobby Kennedy, I've known this guy forever. I've been at these houses raising money for this guy, and he said they're all MAGA and they're all voting for RFK.
Yeah,
he said
no,
he's
I know.
Stealing it from Trump.
That's where he's getting it from, and keep doing it, people. Keep going along. The $6,600 that each of those people paid last week to see Eric Clapton is not going to be. They're not going to have another $6,600 in 6 months to give to Trump when they realize it's Trump versus Biden.
And look at the timing.
Yeah.
Let me see. We lost 10 points. Oh, you think RFK might make up 10 points?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the 10 points.
And
it might be 14 points.
Yeah, it's such a perfect time for this to happen. It's like, oh, well, there we go. So that lead just disappears in no time, because now they'll start tracking all three of them and be like, okay, well, look, it's dead heat again. Right. It's a dead heat.
Well, I mean, where's his incredible love of his familial Democratic Party that he's so in love with, that he would never, ever run as anything but a Democrat? Maybe this guy's full of shit, people. You ever think of that? I know it sounds impossible. His uncle was fucking Ted Kennedy, who killed a woman at Chappaquiddick. Maybe he's on that genetic side of the aisle. Jesus Christ.
Well, we called it, so at least there's the minor degree of vindication. Except
not happy about it.
Sad.
I'll tell you that much. Yeah,
no,
I'm not happy about it.
No, it's not good. And then we have the other flip side story, and I actually had pulled this one up too. I know you sent it to me, but what is it? Trump doesn't have his allies in Georgia. He has one ally who tried to do something, make a move against Fani Willis, and who booted him? The Democrats? No, the Republicans.
No. What is going on down in Georgia? I want to know, what is the deal down there? This was like Alabama my entire life. I mean, Louisiana, these were solid red states. What the hell is going on in the state of Georgia, for Christ's sake? Does anybody watch this show from Georgia? Maybe they could tell us what's going on.
I don't know. I know Barnes has been railing about it for a while because he was down there working for Trump in 2020. And he said there's some really nasty things going on here, some dark stuff.
Wow. Holy crap.
It sounds like they might have a similar situation as Arizona.
Yeah. Yeah, they might be sister states.
Mm-hmm.
They might be sister states, like McCain kind of Republicans. They were, by the way, Biden was at some dinner commemorating John McCain the other day when they were heckling him. He was given some award to John McCain. So maybe that's the link.
Well, they're tight. I mean, what was it? McCain's daughter.
They're both dead. They're both dead, so they are tight wherever they are.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Biden's getting around slightly better than Feinstein.
I don't know. Feinstein. How about Feinstein? She voted from the afterlife.
Yes.
How about that one?
Yes.
I told you this a couple of years ago. This was about 10, 12 years ago. I pitched a movie, that may have been a sequel, to a dead person being a senator. And it was like Weekend at Bernie's 2 is how I pitched it. And with a dead senator the executives laughed. The executives laughed. They said, we can't make that. That's outrageous. Nobody's going to buy into that. And here's a dead Feinstein voting after she's dead, for Christ's sakes. She might have been dead for 3 weeks.
No, I agree. Well, that was kind of the headline, because I was doing a show earlier and the chat kept going, Dianne Feinstein's died. Dianne Feinstein's died. And I finally go, the only question is, I thought she already was gone.
Well, you're right. When?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, like, have you had that before where you see a headline, such and such died? You're like, they were still alive?
Well, no. I mean, this was in the news for quite a while.
Well, because it rolled her around. You couldn't even tell if, what it was.
I didn't know she was going to die. But the point of the matter is, democracy dies in darkness, Eric. Mm-hmm. And now there's this mutt. This guy, Gordon Gekko, who's the governor of California, is now going to select yet a second United States senator to represent 40 million people. 39.99999 million have not voted for either one of them. Him being the 0.001 who is going to select as he said, a random black woman to represent the state of California. Just like Biden promised a random black woman to be on the Supreme Court. Doesn't matter who it is. as long as it's a black woman, which eliminates 96% of the American public is now been eliminated to be a United States senator from the state of California. 96 point something percent of California has been eliminated because both Biden and Newsom have eliminated by their racist metrics 96% of the universe, to be a senator, a replacement senator, because they both decided that only one type of person can have this job. I mean, imagine if you were an Armenian American and you said, look, the only one I'm going to select is an Armenian American. That's just it. I mean, that's my desire. I mean, people would go batshit crazy. If a white politician said, I'm just going to select a white guy to replace whoever the white woman was, or Padilla going over because of the vice presidency, going over to Harris. Sure. I mean, people would go berserk, but nobody seems to, and they are going berserk internally here in California because there's a guy named Schiff.
I was going to say there's a silver lining, Mark. There is a silver lining because now I'm going to play it out. I don't know if it'll happen this way, but it's perfect. Let's say he does put up who he's going to put up.
He is going to put her up.
Yeah, but it's just screw Schiff over. Then Schiff is going to run in 2024 trying to get it. That gives a chance for Schwarzenegger to come in and play spoiler the other direction.
Right, but again, Schiff is going to have to run against a black woman, to quote Lenny Bruce, and that's going to be awkward. That's going to be awkward.
Right. So, and that's like it's almost the reverse because that could give Schwarzenegger the lane to get a Republican in there, which would be very interesting.
Did you call him Schwartz N-word?
I said a nagger.
Okay. Oh, you better stop right there, Hunley. It's getting out of control.
Negative.
But
it's negative.
What was Newsom doing in the spin room, and did he run into Viva after the debate?
I talked to David earlier. He did not did not meet any politician, but you sent me that article. Let me see.
David had a difficult escape from LA time, apparently getting to the airport alive, and posted a video about homeless zombies attacking him on the way to the airport. We're immune to it here. We just run them over and keep going. Like you hit them. David was completely stunned he said there was a naked man running through traffic. Ha! You know how many times I've seen that out here? Nobody even cares anymore.
So you're like, that's a Tuesday, right?
No. That's a Tuesday. No, I'm not even kidding. David was like PTSD from having seen all this stuff that we see every waking minute here in LA. I don't know. He's never lived in a big city, I imagine.
Well, he has. So, much. Yeah, I guess.
It's a baby city. Come on.
All right, you snob.
I'm not a snob. I'm just saying.
What do you think?
All right, so we got Newsom here. You sent me this earlier.
This is going to be the takeaway after this debate from the American people.
I think it will be clear that Trump comes out the dominant force after this debate. I mean, this is the XFL. This is JV. I mean, and honestly, this is maybe a vice presidential debate. These guys are getting lapped by Donald Trump. It's not even close. It's not even interesting. And what's most interesting to me is, do they recognize that? Or are they actually going to show up and run against the guy that's in the way of their prospects being the nominee? It's a zero-sum game. It's a binary choice at the end of the day. It's not a ranked choice voting.
Thank you.
Front runner and distinguish themselves, or otherwise they're wasting everybody's time. And I say this with love and respect.
And seeing Groubert talk about this for months with love and respect. I saw this guy Groubert on Freeform Friday. I don't agree with his politics, but I'm just going to mimic everything he says here to explain these midgets running against Trump.
It's funny. There's twice now we can agree with Newsom on that, obviously, but then I don't know if you saw the other part of it. He was talking about why the hell is DeSantis accepting a debate with him? Oh, he literally put it out there, and it's so true because he's like, this is the. It's so funny. It's like he offered to debate DeSantis just to set him up and look like an idiot.
Right.
Because why the hell would DeSantis be debating Newsom? And Newsom himself said, I'm not even running. Why is he debating me?
Why me? I don't know. He's so only perfect. And DeSantis is only 180 points in back of Trump. Why would Trump debate him? That's the funniest thing I ever heard of. What DeSantis, who's on his last bit of oxygen on his tank, spending the last money from the stupidest donor who gave him their hard-earned money that they stole. And now he says, please, Trump, can you please debate me? What part of politics does this guy not understand? It's really breathtaking.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm befuddled by this. Let me see. We'll get some super chats early on. Lady Freddie found Tucker's interview with O'Reilly to be his weakest yet.
I didn't even watch it. Go on. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we covered this. I think we covered this.
Oh, yeah. We did. This one I think you'll like. Cheer it up a little bit. Mark, 60 years ago next week, did your Brooklyn neighborhood root for or against the Los Angeles Dodgers during the 1963 World Series with the New York Yankees?
Okay, let me just straighten this out right now. Okay, this is a tough one because I rooted for him. I mean, we swept the Yankees in 4 games. Koufax dominant, Drysdale. It was a complete sweep, all 3 games by the Dodgers. One of the greatest moments of my life of beating the Yankees. Now there was a bittersweet aspect to this in South Brooklyn. There's no Yankee fans. The Yankee fans is cut off somewhere in Midtown Manhattan. Anything below that is all Dodger fans. Or now it's Met fans, of course, after 1962. But in 63, there were bittersweet bitter balls who hated the Dodgers for moving to L.A. Mostly they hated O'Malley because he was the guy that did it. There's a famous line, you have one bullet and you have Stalin, Mao, and O'Malley. What do you do with that? And you say you line them up and shoot them in the head, hope the bullet goes through all 3 of them. That was a joke at the time in Brooklyn. However, I, as a kid, as a Dodger fan, was rooting for a guy who went to Lafayette High School in Brooklyn, one of the greatest Jewish pitchers of all time, and that was Sandy Koufax. That was where I was coming from as a Dodger fan. So it didn't matter to me about Brooklyn or Los Angeles. I was rooting for Koufax, and he dominated the Yankees. And it was a great 1963. Later on in 65, not so good, but. I mean, that won 7, obviously, with the Twins, but, then some things happened to the Dodgers that were not so good. But I'm getting ready. Because I'm getting ready for the playoffs now. We don't start here until October 7th. And October 7th will be the first game we play, the Dodgers play in the playoffs. And by then, they should be pretty well rested and forget how to play the actual game itself. One of our problems, Eric, is we clinch so early that by the time the playoffs comes around, we forget how to play baseball.
Okay. Okay, I get it. It's too long of a rest. Sometimes being a wild card is helpful because you keep playing and stay sharp. Is that the issue?
Let me tell you the issue.
Okay.
The issue is exactly what you said. Yeah. These other teams that roll in after that are super hot. They're playing every day. Baseball is a game that's played every single day. So all of a sudden, when you have a week to 10 days to 2 weeks off, for the biggest part of the entire season, you almost always come in flat. And the Dodgers, for the past couple of years, 2020 was an aberration. It was cardboard cutouts in the stands. It was the COVID World Series. We won it with 50,000 cardboard cutouts in the stands in Texas somewhere. Anyway, the point of the matter is, the longer you wait in baseball, unlike football, where your men can heal their injuries and you get a bye weekend in football, in baseball, it works against you and is detrimental. You lose the rhythm of the game. And I predict the Dodgers will go out, and this is my prediction, in the first round. But nevertheless, I got to play the game. That's on paper. Anything can happen in the real world.
That's true. Okay, so is it because football is obviously a much more physical sport, so being able to rest up is helpful, but baseball, I'm not going to say that it's not as physical or not as intense.
No. You're absolutely correct. There's no need to rest in baseball. You play every single night, and you have a bunch of guys, 25 guys, who can alternate, and whatever, if somebody's hurt, you put them on the DL, you bring in somebody else. When you have a layoff of this length, from basically the Dodgers clinched last week, so they're not even playing at full speed now. The season ends on Sunday. Then they don't play game 1 in the division series till October 7th. That's a long time in baseball by any metric. and it's detrimental, in my humble opinion, to their energy and to their mojo and momentum. And I predict it's very difficult to overcome that. I don't know why. I would turn it down, but it's not an option. You don't have the option to turn it down.
Yeah. I guess I don't know how you would deal with that. I guess you could keep playing, but I guess it's just the way it works. I mean, you don't want them to do worse and then come right?
No. I mean, but I'm just saying the team last year, the same thing happened. The Dodgers won 100 million games. They clinched in May. They played the Padres. The Padres were on fire, and they just cleaned our clocks, and it was over in 5 minutes. One of the most humiliating playoff series I've ever seen.
What is this? I'm being shamed by the audience. Come on, Eric. I'm a girl, and I know that. Okay.
Thanks, Chi. Thank you. Okay. Speaking about something, I want to just tell you something. There's a thing here now, and this is some LA phenomenon. I just wanted to, a significant person told me about this. They have, because of deliveries from restaurants after COVID, you got all these delivery services, Eric, here, the Uber Eats, there's a million of them. It's a battle to the death. We now have, I don't even know if people can understand this. I've uncovered this phenomenon that we now have ghost restaurants in LA. They're restaurants in name only with menus and themes and owners.
Yeah, Mr. Beast did that. Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. But anyway, so we have these ghost restaurants in LA that are in a factory warehouse, an empty warehouse in downtown LA, which is set up an industrial kitchen. And when the order comes in for Mikey's Italian restaurant for angel hair pasta, they simply whip up the angel hair pasta and have it delivered to you from a phony restaurant that doesn't exist. The restaurant, there may be 6 to 8 of these, or maybe 12, operating in an empty warehouse in downtown LA under phony names, and there is no restaurant. It doesn't exist. They have phony Yelp ratings. They have phony everything. Phony menus, but they cook up the food. You get the food.
No, it's a pop-up restaurant.
No, they don't pop up. They don't pop up. Pop-up restaurant. That's
Well,
not the right word.
Okay, fair enough. A pop-up store is like when they take an empty store for Halloween. But Mr. Beast famously did that with the Beast Burgers, where now it wasn't warehouses, but everywhere in the country, it's other restaurants are fulfilling that role, but they're acting like that restaurant. So they're a virtual restaurant is the
well, I don't know if these are virtual or phony or whatever, but the underground restaurants that I'm describing can be 6 to 8. It could be Thai food. It could be Chinese food. And the other thing that happened was that phony restaurant in New York, where they put together a list of 2,400 people that were waiting for months to get into a Muhammad Steakhouse on East 11th Street, and they converted a Russian bathhouse into a phony restaurant for a one-night hoax. And they brought people in. They were fighting to the death to get into this imaginary restaurant that didn't exist. And he photoshopped all of these photos in the lobby of him with JFK, him with Frank Sinatra, him with Muhammad Ali, the kid, and it was all kids doing this, college kids, as a hoax. And they served milk around the tables, that linen tablecloths. It was a big open space, a lot of servers. They were serving milk, and they said, "What's with the milk?" And they said, "This is the milk from the bovine cow that you're going to eat in a few minutes." And so they were going around serving milk, and then they served these incredible steaks, and people didn't realize it was a phony restaurant, that they did this just for this stunt.
I think there was a documentary on there, wasn't there?
That I don't know. It was just in the New York Post the other day that this phony restaurant popped up. It was a stunt and a hoax, but they did give them real steaks, to be honest. So at least they got that. But it was showing you that these New Yorkers would fight to the death to get into a new restaurant that's been around for zero amount of time, but they claimed that you had to get on this waiting list. And indeed, there was a waiting list of 2,400 people.
I would actually call that performance art in a weird way.
Yeah, it was performance art. It really was. It really was.
So
they had about 60 people involved in this thing, all college kids working as servers and chefs.
Yeah. There's some hoaxes. I actually sort of appreciate the brilliance of them.
This one was genius. This one, there's a picture of him with JFK serving him spaghetti, and looks totally legit. And the kid's 25 years old, and he's 25 years old in the photo.
Well, those are the best, and then people go right along and agree with it.
Right along with it. Yeah.
All right. Well, you know who is the best, Mark?
Who?
We have a returning sponsor.
What?
Yes. It is back again.
Well, look at that.
I said the name wrong. Mea culpa, folks.
Who the hell could read that? What is the name?
It is
Moondog?
It's Moondo's Artisan Coffee. Right. Now, think about it for a second. I said, Moon Does, because it's DOES, right? But it's Moon Does. And if you look at it, there's two does that are in the middle of the moon here. I'll zoom it in for you, Mark. And there's a story behind this.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
What would be the opposite of a moon does?
A moon doesn't.
A Starbucks.
Oh, no.
So they literally established themselves as the anti-Starbucks, which is a very leftist, typical burnt coffee, Seattle politic type of place. They're like, you know what? If I'm ever going to do this, it's going to be Moon Do's, the opposite of Starbucks.
I see.
They have returned to sponsor us again. Everybody, I've gotten a lot of feedback from Twitter on locals.
They like it?
Oh, they love it. They love it. And you have something coming to you.
What?
I think you ordered. What did you order?
What did I order here? Something that was like some Southern Bell.
Yeah, like a pecan or something.
No, it was like Southern Bell.
Southern Bell butter pecan. Yeah,
butter pecan. Yeah. Oh, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, no, you should be getting it there.
There's no hazelnut. I look for hazelnut. There is that vanilla. I would order the vanilla.
Okay, well, I can tell you this stuff is excellent.
Okay.
Well, it'll be coming to you in the mail. One thing cool about it is he doesn't just go dump it in a bag and send it out. He actually grinds it to order, and he has to let it sit for like a day or two. I mean, these people really do their thing.
Unfortunately, in LA, Starbucks has coffee sniffing dogs at the border to get this out of the mail. So I hope he covers it with the smell of weed, so it could get past the coffee sniffing dogs of Starbucks.
Well, he's watching. So if you can, take cannabis and rub it all over the
wrap
bag.
it in cannabis. I'll tell you something funny. When John Sinclair was a judge, famous John Sinclair, we did an episode on, of the Cannabis Cup in Amsterdam. He was leaving one year to come back to the States. He was living, I guess, in New Orleans. And the drug sniffing dogs of the Dutch police started barking at his book, and it happened to be the Bible, and he had used the Bible pages as rolling paper. So they went crazy, and he, had a long beard and everything, and he says, "How dare you? That's my Bible." And they said, "Oh, we're so sorry, Reverend Sinclair," and they gave him back his Bible. He went on his way.
Oh, which is a good call. Now, I don't know if he's going to wrap it in cannabis for you. I'd highly recommend he does that to get it through the lines. But seriously, folks, feedback has been outstanding. I can actually drink this stuff black. I don't have to have cream in it. It is that good. And somebody even said that they were giving up, what is it, the Basora? You said it's a Puerto Rican coffee out of New York. I forgot the...
Bustelo.
Right. They said it's up there with the Bustelo. So they had to concede that.
Bustelo is strong coffee. I mean, strong Puerto Rican coffee, wherever it comes from.
Right. I know I'm using, I got the adrenaline injection. So they have a nice
heart attack coffee. Look at that. There's a heart rate on the coffee label.
That's right. And it's got the,
and the syringe. My two favorite things.
But it's awesome, though. A super strong coffee. I could drink it without cream, and it tastes really good.
All right, let's see what happens.
Check it out. Seriously, check it out.
So what's the name of it?
Moondo's Coffee.
Moondo's. Okay, right.
And there's a link on Rumble in the description, on YouTube in the description. This is a small business out of Texas, independent person who literally runs his own coffee house. It's not a corporate thing. Check it out.
He gets his own coffee and grinds it up. And
yes, he sources the beans, does all the roasting, everything completely through.
Interesting. All right.
And it's high level coffee.
Okay. Well, I'll be the judge of that.
Oh, and you should be. I expect you to report back. Damn it!
I'll report back. I'll be up all night reporting back if I get that adrenaline junkie one.
Well, but you got the pecan. You're trying to be a Southerner.
Right. Well, it may taste flavorful. I don't know. We'll see.
I think it will. Yeah. I mean, butter pecan. What can go wrong?
No.
All right.
What do we got now, Hunley? First of all, why don't we talk about Dallas for 5 seconds?
Yeah. Okay.
The
Dallas,
conference. We're starting to get tickets already. People are already buying tickets, folks. The woman the woman's overjoyed.
Well, and I'm overjoyed. I want to bury them. My goal
Dude,
is
I want to fill that room. There's 200 seats apparently. Let's make it 199 America's Untold Stories fans and her. She'll just have her sitting there, or Robert Groden sitting next to us, and 198 America's Untold Stories people.
Yes, and by the way, we don't have to just fill it in Dallas. Let's fill it in the internet because they have virtual tickets too. If you can't travel, buy a virtual ticket. So if you travel, go there. There's a hotel link.
Dude, this is it. Hunley's right. Discount code. There's a secret discount code. There's a discount code for the hotel. I don't know what else we can do for you, fat bastards. If this doesn't get you, I live in Ohio. I can't possibly make it to your meetup in Dallas. It's the 60th anniversary, people. I mean, if you've been following our series on JFK, this is the Woodstock of JFK assassination research conferences. 3 days of love, peace, and happiness and bullets together. We're going to examine and go into all the. You should see the subject matter on the website. I think it's she's posting it on Saturday, the official lineup. But what I've seen in the subject matter. This is in the weeds, people. These are the best and the brightest, the Vince Palamaras, the Robert Grodens, all the big macas, and I say maca as in the Yiddish way, all the big macas. Take a look at this. John Newman, look at that. Yeah, scroll down a little bit. Let's see here. John Newman. Whoa. Ocelli, I don't know who that is.
We got
Dick Russell. Dick Russell. And
Larry
then
Hancock.
Whoa. Morley's in there. Whoa. Larry Schnapp is in there. I like him. Duthit is in
Paul
there.
Blow. Duthit and Blow.
Paul Blow. Yeah, from Montreal. Very good. Holy crap. Duthit is the guy who's the expert on Tippett.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my Lord. This is the rock and roll Hall of Fame. Vince is in there. Goshenow is the deposition guy. Oh, Rex Bradford. He's the head of Mary Farrell. He's the he's the guy who runs Mary Farrell. Go on. Are there any others there? Or?
There's this Hunley and Groubert. I don't know what that
whoever they are. How did they get in there?
Andrew Keel. I think we met him down in
man,
Kappa.
this is great. This is just her opening. I think she's getting some more people. Brett
James Corbett. Holy cow.
Augusta Gladio. Him I don't know, but Larry Hancock, I know. I mean, Dick Russell, who's apparently the guy who wrote the RFK Jr. biography recently, which reads like I bought the book. I can't even read it. It reads like one of the most, self-serving biographies I've ever read. He's in love with this guy, and the book, the book is just ridiculously over the top, praising RFK Jr. It's hard to read.
But the rest of these guys are awesome.
No. But Dick Russell his JFK work. His JFK work is really really strong, really strong.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think there's going to be a better conference. It's not like you can wait till next year because these people aren't going to show up for that.
Half of them are going to die. Half of them are trying to stay alive for the 60th. Then they'll die. Like when the Cubs won the World Series. And the Red Sox, too, half of the city died that was hanging on for dear life. Older 80-year-old guys, which is what these guys are going to pass away after this because this will be the 60th. And you'll see that next year, a lot of them will be dead. Sadly.
Oh, for sure.
Sadly.
For sure. And it's just going to go down. I mean, there will be hardcore people who are interested in some stuff, but it's not going to be this. This is the last hurrah, really, for...
Well, I can't wait to meet Groden and talk about the Zapruder film, and the controversy surrounding it being altered. And I've endorsed Grodin on this channel numerous times, defending him. And we're going to meet up and discuss this once and for all, get to the bottom of it.
For sure. And meet Palomar in person. Yeah, it's going to be great. Highly recommend it. Everybody.
How do I get tickets for this thing? Where do I go to get tickets?
Look at the description of this video on YouTube or Rumble. And everybody on Locals knows it. There is a coupon code for 15% off.
What?
Yeah, make sure you do that so people know it's us too. So save some money and let them know, hey, it's.
Wait, so you don't even have to get off your fat ass. You're saying that these people who are in wheelchairs, who have colostomy bags, who are tied to iron lungs, can literally watch this virtually. You and I make a presentation at the biggest conference for the 60th anniversary of the JFK assassination. Is that what you're saying?
They could be drinking some Moon Doze coffee,
right?
Watching us present, because they've got to be alert and pay attention.
Right.
Lots going on.
They're going to miss the free buffet. They're going to miss the great sit-down dinner where we discuss and drink and party and everything else, and some other hijinks that I have planned for this event. So virtually is okay. Virtually is okay.
But if you can't make it, you can't make it. And
right? No, you got it. You got it. You don't understand, Mark. My daughter's graduating from B'nai Israel School for the Dancing Ballet Jewish School of the Blind. I can't make it. I like how everybody always puts why they can't make it without even being asked. You tell them it's the craziest thing. No, they just go, there's an event. Well, I can't make it because of A, B, C, D, and E. Nobody cares.
Yep.
Be there or be square.
True. All right. So next story we have, you put this up here earlier. You want to talk about it. Trump's real estate assessment.
Dude, come on. This is crazy, Eric. This is the craziest story of the week. Because all these realtors in Miami and Florida, and I was down there, we were down there at Doral, which is the country club attached to Mar-a-Lago, right? And
oh my God.
Right. I mean, I think that's part of the property. They all these people said they would buy it for $300 million. This judge, this mentally retarded judge, who looks like a guy from another planet. I don't know if you still have a photo of that judge. This nerd up in New York.
What's a painting?
There's photos of him. No, there's actual photos of the guy. But nevertheless, he decided, as the part-time realtor that he is, that the property is worth $18 million. Okay? He pulls this number out of his ass. Now, keep in mind, Trump bought this in 1985 for $10 million. This douchebag says Trump is committing fraud because he believes after 40 years that the property is only worth $18 million. Every single realtor in the country, in the nation, has said it's worth $300 to $500 million. Trump had it valued at 350 or whatever he had it valued at. I mean, this is astounding. The breaking of justice and the judicial system by their insane rationalizations that are so transparent, it makes the Nuremberg hearings look like the producers with Mel Brooks.
Okay, that's a good analogy. Well, let's go back to your home your home state.
Here?
And your home state, New York, right?
Oh, New York. Yeah, okay, that's what I meant.
Yeah. Target is closing locations. Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine.
9
I just
stores.
want to say one thing. This guy, the head of Costco, came on, and they have 10 times less of the amount of shrinkage of the highest stores in the nation. And the guy from Costco explained why they have no theft. One, they have one exit, one entrance, one exit. The door is locked. There has to be a photo ID to get in, and you have to show your receipt to get out. All of these stores that are not doing this would rather go bankrupt than to do what Costco has been doing for 30 years. They can't physically do this. They would prefer having all of their stuff stolen, having their doors wide open with no guards, having to close stores and have $380 billion worth of loss and go bankrupt, rather than do what this simple guy said from Costco. Nobody cares. You go to Costco and they you show an ID, you go in, You can't steal anything. He says we have one door. Nobody ever shoplifts. You have to show your receipt. They can't, first of all, they can't install the Groubert security door alarm. They can't do that. Okay, I get that. It's a little too complicated. You lock the door. You have a vestibule. I know it's too much. Now, they can't check ID. They can't check your receipt on the way out. They can't do anything. If the employees try to stop the thieves, they're fired, of course, because that makes sense. The thieves are just loading up truckloads of stuff. Maybe these guys shouldn't be in retail, Eric. Maybe they belong to another service industry, and maybe retail is not their thing. In other words, maybe it's Darwinian capitalism, Eric, that's weeding out the mental patients who have been running Target and Nordstrom's and some of these only other stores that refuse to do anything at all to prevent the mass shoplifting and smash and grabs of their merchandise.
I agree. What's ironic is it's not only Costco. BJ's manages to figure it out. Right.
Sam's Club.
Yeah, but here's the irony. Sam's Club is owned by freaking Walmart. And so Walmart actually does it for Sam's Club, but they can't figure out to do it for their own stores.
It's astounding. I'd love to hear their rationalization for why we can't do absolutely anything to stop. And then now they got to close. Now, and I don't care that they got to close. What I care about is the single moms and the retired men who work at these places to have an income to be able to feed themselves. That's what I give a shit about. I don't care.
In the neighborhood, the people who live in the area who have to shop that are good workers and everything else.
Maybe the people in the neighborhood should guard the freaking store like a group of vigilantes like Curtis Leawood does with the guardian angels and stand outside and intimidate the people who are doing this. How about that for an answer? Get off your fat asses and do something. The police aren't coming, people. The one in Atlanta, they're going to put a police station in the middle of the Target store.
Well, Philadelphia, they're starting to.
Philadelphia looks pretty good. You got to hand it to Philadelphia after that mass. First of all, right, there's two things. One is the armed guards that are out in front of that Philly cheesesteak place. The second story is that crazy meatball girl who was arrested by Philadelphia detectives yesterday, just cackling insanely while she filmed the looting of the Apple store in downtown Philadelphia and encouraged the looting and looted herself, apparently, when she wasn't filming. So she's been charged with 6 felonies. So I hope she does some time, this fat bastard.
Well, you saw the cops piling on everybody in the Philadelphia footage too.
Right.
No, but the shock. It was so funny seeing the shock in their face, like, what are they doing here? I mean, it's almost like there was a plan ahead and somebody didn't get the memo. Wait a minute, you're not supposed to arrest us. We're supposed to just walk in and throw everything in carts. We thought it was California.
Yeah, well, Philadelphia has been doing that for quite a while now. The reality of it is this man-on-man situation is like having, a missed amount of players on your team. In other words, there's 8 cops and there's 80 guys.
Sure.
You're right. You can't keep doing it that way. You have to come up with a better system. You're not going to have 8 guys tackle 8 guys and call it a day and 72 get away. That's not going to cut it. You have to come up with a better system than that.
Well, there's multiple levels of better system. Like even if you only get 8, don't let them out tomorrow to join. You'll get another 8 tomorrow and eventually there won't be any more to grab. It might take 10 tries, but you'll get them all.
Well, there's one thing I want to suggest, and somebody in the comment section suggest, and I forgot about this, which is a good idea. Have the cops form a lineup outside, open fire with rubber bullets. And I think that's traditionally been done before. It's been done in LA. It's been done in foreign countries. They're not going to kill you. It's going to hurt like hell. And you're going to think twice when you're coming out of that store with that crap. There's a line of cops opening fire of just rubber bullets. They'll think twice about that because the mismatch is too many kids. There's too many kids.
That's true, too.
There's too many kids.
And CS gas, too. You throw both.
The gas, I get a little dicey with the gas because people do have different asthma and other kind of conditions. The rubber bullets, though, that hurts. That hurts.
Yeah, you can lose an eye. But anyway, I'm just saying, you're right. Okay, they have asthma.
No. I'm just saying gas. the courts have ruled on gas. The gas thing, it just like it becomes like Auschwitz at the Apple store. You don't want that Auschwitz at the Apple store, do you, Eric?
Well, I don't know. You know a way that you can avoid getting a CS gas? Avoid looting places.
Right.
It's a good formula. It'd be the same way you don't catch a bullet if you don't loot.
Again, the Groubert security device would lock them in a store where they're sealed in. And, this has happened before in various bank robberies. And it's happened in, like I said, jewelry store robberies of Winston's and Harry Winston's in New York. You're locked in that vestibule over there. You know what I mean? You're in that vestibule. You can't get out. You can't do anything to the help, and you can't get out either way. It's a vestibule. What is so freaking hard? We put guys on the moon, for Christ's sakes. What is so hard about this, other than is it possible that they have human resources diversity officers within this corporation saying they can't be touched? Is that humanly possible, Eric? I ask you this as a broad question to the audience.
Yeah.
Is somebody saying internally that they do? And I remember AOC said this, that these are people hungry and they just want to get for bread. Yeah,
did you see the iBread meme with the Apple Store?
No, I didn't see it.
No. Somebody did a juxtaposition of her saying they're really in trouble. They're getting bread, and it was showing the Apple Store robbery, and they were saying, and they had iBread, which I thought was pretty funny.
That's funny. I mean, look, I mean, they're just going to keep going unless somebody shoots them in the head. And I'm saying rubber bullet them in the head, but it could be, sonic blast. I mean, use some technology here, people.
Well, fire hoses. Somebody mentioned that too.
Fire hoses, of course. Then it looks like Bull Connor, but nevertheless, I would prefer. No, I don't care. I don't really care. I'm just trying to find the most politically correct, acceptable way to stop this. And I think
convictions. I like that way.
That's a good one.
Just it's like I don't know why we have to come up with new crazy means when we had a.
Well, you have to catch. History. You have to catch them. That's what I'm saying. You have to catch them.
Okay, but
you caught 6 out of 600, Eric. So what?
Well, but when they're broadcasting themselves on social media, destroying the iPhones, how do you think they got Meatball? I mean, come on. Anyway, they literally broadcast themselves.
Meatball is not as much trouble as the guy who said he killed or was in the Cadillac shooting a Tupac and passed the gun back to his nephew, who he claimed shot Tupac. But now this guy in his memoir, because you got to write a memoir if you kill Tupac, and you got to say you were in the Cadillac shooting and expect that nobody's going to pick you up. I mean, the absurdity of that is breathtaking.
Well, I mean, it's so shocking. Wait a minute. He was a Crip. Oh, my. Stars and whatever. Stars and garters. Let me see. Let me go through a couple of super chats. Big fan of the channel, but I have to ask regarding JFK. Why focus more on LBJ as coordinator as opposed to Alan Dulles? Seems that Dulles had more means and motive when considering deep state and Wall Street interests.
He didn't even have a job or an office, Alan Dulles. He didn't work anywhere. He had no access. He was a man without a country. I mean, LBJ was in the White House in 5 seconds. He was on Air Force One before Kennedy's body even left Parkland, for Christ's sakes. I mean, LBJ controlled the weapons of war. He controlled the entire United States Army. He was the most powerful man in the world the second Kennedy died. I mean, what does Dulles get out of this? Other than some revenge because he got fired?
An appointment on the Warren Commission.
Right, but I'm saying, what does Dulles get? I mean, look at the stakes. LBJ is going to go to prison, just like Spiro Agnew. He's going to be arrested. He's going to be dropped from the ticket. If he kills the guy, he becomes the most powerful man on the face of the earth. What are the stakes compared to Alan Dulles? Come on, it's a joke. It's a joke.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Now, we're not saying that Dulles had no involvement.
No,
we're saying that he's not whatever. Let me see. Philip Crothers, we did talk about RFK Jr.
Yeah, we're going to keep talking about it because apparently whatever I say comes true because I've got some sort of mental projection problem now where anything I say becomes reality.
So start saying different shit, Mark.
I can't control the shit that comes out. That's the problem.
We've got to work on it, okay? just start concentrating.
It's a superpower. There used to be a guy named Bouncing Boy. I don't know if anybody remembers Bouncing Boy. Bouncing Boy for the DC aficionados. I don't even know how we remember this crap. But in the junior league, in the Legion of Superheroes. They were the teenage version of all the superheroes, Superboy and Mon-El and everybody else. Bouncing Boy was trying to become a member of the Legion of Superheroes, and he would become a member, then he'd get kicked out, then he'd become a member again. He had one power. He converted himself into a ball, and he'd roll down the street knocking criminals over. That was Bouncing, and he bounced as a ball. And they would feel sorry for him. They'd let him in, kick him out, let him in, kick him out. That's how I feel about the situation.
All right. We got a couple of Rumble rants in here. Alan, who we both met at the VIP event and the meetup in Montgomery, sent 2 super chats. First one, $100. I mean, not super chats, Rumble rants. $100. When Bill O'Reilly worked at WFAA in Dallas, he interviewed many characters involved in the JFK conspiracy, including Frank Sturgis.
Yes.
Little Billy is a shill clown.
Yes, he absolutely is. He claims to have been knocking on the door when George DeMorenshell blew his head off in Palm Beach when he got the subpoena from the House Assassinations Committee. That's not true. He was not at his door knocking on his door. And he was that guy who was knocking on doors back in Dallas. And he's right, Alan. The fact of the matter is somebody got to him and he switched sides. Because there are many episodes of Bill O'Reilly going after the Frank Sturgises and others that he interviewed for that local station, which I couldn't remember the name of, but that's what I was referring to. Thanks.
All right. And he also said, have my ticket and room. See you guys in Dallas.
Part A. That's what I'm talking about. Now we're getting somewhere. Get up on the big board. Let's go. Let's do this. Let's take over this entire freaking conference, bro. That's what I want to do. These people are going to go, holy shit. These guys are coming in large with 100, 200 people. Holy crap.
And he's literally coming in large, folks. He's about 6'7" or 6'9", somewhere in there.
He said he could dunk in second grade. I find that hard to believe.
He could. He probably could.
Well, he probably appreciated the Weatherman story, the Brinks robbery story in 1981.
I bet.
Up there in Rockland County. That was, probably something he remembers. Not, he wasn't employed then, but he probably remembers the story.
Yeah, I'm sure you heard about it from other cops.
Everybody heard about it. I mean, it was the biggest cop story of the decade.
All right. Some tips from locals here. If no candidate receives 270 electoral votes, the House of Representatives will pick the president. Each state delegation gets 1 vote, regardless of the number of congressional districts it has. 26 votes representing a majority of the states are required to win. Isn't this a likely scenario and mean the Republicans would choose the president? Yeah, if it got that far.
Right, but then that was the goal of January 6th. That's why they pulled this January 6th invasion insurrection storyline, because that's where that was going. And that's where it was going with Strom Thurmond and the Dixiecrats when he was running in the Truman election. That's where it was going with George Wallace. That's where all of these were going. And theoretically, he's correct. He's absolutely, those are the numbers. And based on that, that's why Trump was pursuing it, was because of the legislatures around the country were red. And that's why they had to go nuclear, in my humble opinion, on January 6th. Because if they allowed that vote to happen, Biden would have lost.
Yeah. Okay, somebody's asking about the Arizona governor being out of office for a day. It really is a nothing burger story. Found out more earlier in the Arizona Constitution. If the governor leaves the state for whatever reason, they have to designate somebody else to be in the role when they leave. So,
okay, the only reason I don't know Arizona, but in California, Newsom leaves every year for a couple of weeks to go off the grid to Costa Rica to have plastic surgery, and he never ever turns over the reign of power to anybody. And people every year go, "Who's running this state?" And he doesn't respond, and he, just disappears and goes to some resort in Costa Rica, and he comes back, again, looking like Gordon Gekko. But that's his goal, is to look like Gordon Gekko.
What's that? It's probably like those times, was it, when they would sometimes have police strikes and crime would go down or whatever. It's like, hey, those are the best days that the state's had.
I'll tell you, the best 2 days, the first 2 years of Prohibition, there was no crime. There was no drunk driving. There was no domestic abuse. There was no burglaries. The crime went to almost zero the first 2 years before the mob started making alcohol and selling it. The first 2 years of Prohibition, if you want to look at crime stats, take a look at a world without alcohol abuse. The first 2 years of Prohibition. You don't understand, Mark. You can't prohibit alcohol. You don't understand. You can't prohibit drugs. The reality of it is, for 2 years, and these women, who were the ones who are the temperance movement, worked on, I don't know how I got onto this, but worked on Prohibition for, like 60 years to get it. And the first 2 years, crime was literally non-existent. Next subject.
Okay. I would, somebody should look up Singapore and see what the crime stats are there, because they've got everything pretty locked down. I don't know how that is, but Al Parks said, what's your take on the Canadian Parliament giving a 98-year-old SS soldier a standing ovation?
Well, now it's not a standing ovation. It's 2 standing ovations, because if Goebbels was there, he would have gotten 3 standing ovations, but they couldn't get Goebbels because he's dead. But this guy, this SS guy, the Speaker of the House resigned. He fell on his sword, even though he didn't do it. It was a Zelensky-Trudeau feeding. And now, in a weird plot twist, Poland is demanding extradition of this war criminal who killed, never mind how many Polish Jews he killed, and I'm a Polish Jew. The Polish government is concerned about how many Poles he killed as an SS officer during the war. So this is going to get awkward for Trudeau. Does he turn this guy over to the Poles or not? Because now the Poles are demanding this war criminal be turned over to the Polish authorities. This is amazing. And there's so many Ukrainian Nazis. Somebody pointed it out, and it reminded me of my own rap about Operation Paperclip. Somebody pointed it out that the Ukrainian Nazis, when they came to Canada, brought in their morality and their politics that spread through the Ukrainian community in Canada. What does that sound like, Hunley? Sounds like something we've discussed before about the Soviets and the Nazis coming into the United States after the collapse of the Soviet Union and the collapse of the Third Reich.
Well, it gets better too, because I think Jagmeet Singh has some problems with an Indian assassin in Canada too. So
Trudeau said that the Indians killed some plumber who was trying to. He was like a chalabi or something. I didn't really dig into this deeply, but this plumber apparently was a Sikh separatist who was working with. Am I wrong, or is this the story?
Yeah. But I forgot what it was, but the guy that Jagmeet Singh, whatever, is into or buddies with, it's a mess. I don't know all the details. Everybody check out Viva Fry if you want your latest on Canadian chicanery.
That's where I go when I want to learn about Canadian chicanery, because what happens in Canada eventually is going to come here, including Viva, who came here.
True. Oh, all right. Bob's Your Horse sending a tip on locals. Brings up a good point. He says, here's the thing. Costco is not located in inner cities.
I beg to differ. There's plenty of Costco's here in LA, bro. And we're in the middle of an inner city. There's Costco's all around this city, depending on where you live.
Okay.
Well, I beg to differ with that.
Let me see. Interested party. Will Newsom do as good of a job pointing a senator as Rod Blagojevich?
Blagojevich.
Sorry, I can't say it. Did with Ronald Burgess. The payoffs will be there, but everyone will look away.
They're not payoffs. This political power doesn't have to be money, people. When you have the power to select a senator, it allows you to use that power and influence. It's not cash on the barrelhead. This thing that Obama went after Blagojevich for, that Blagojevich was selling the seat, he's not selling it like it's a game show, for Christ's sakes. It's his constitutional right to pick it, and he weighs political favoritism is part of that equation. You just don't pick a name out of a hat. He wasn't selling the seat for money. Blagojevich was railroaded by the Obama gang and put into prison, and he could speak for himself because he knows more about it than I do, obviously. But, this guy was railroaded for doing something every governor does, or other elected officials do, who have the constitutional right to replace people who die. Now, there was somebody else who died, and they want to put his wife in. Oh, I know what it was. It's the Menendez thing in New Jersey. The governor wants to put his wife in the Senate seat for Menendez in Jersey. The guy's got the gold bullion in the freezer, Eric.
That figures. That figures. I mean, but and by the way, I totally agree with you on that. Technically speaking, they have the right to appoint the replacement, and the people voted in the governor. So the people, in essence, voted in the replacement. Mm-hmm. And the biggest irony of all, when you're talking about a senator, is the senators were not directly voted for to begin with anyway. That was added later on. It was an amendment. They were picked by the state legislature originally. You voted for a congressman, not for a senator.
Well, not every state has the same as California, where the governor picks it. Sometimes they have runoffs immediately. There's different state laws, so
but
it's not
to a state.
Right. No, it varies by state. I'm just saying the irony that California will now have two unelected United States senators that no member of the 40 million residents have voted for here in California. That's a little much. But that's, goes with the territory now.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Ale House 20 said, will Newsom appoint himself, Angela Davis, or Willie Brown's wife?
Okay, there was rumors before he got into the presidential run that he could appoint himself. And that was kicking around in California for a while. He has since verbally addressed that, saying he's not going to appoint himself. And he said he's going to keep his promise of appointing a random black woman. So he's going to stick with that. He was asked on a recent show that he was on one of the networks recently on CBS or NBC, and he said he's going to stick with the random black woman appointee theory.
Okay. Church Fart wants to know, question, thank you for the show. As a nation of laws, or as with many examples of today, are we just a nation of political will?
First of all, let me just address this. Every nation is a nation of laws. What do you think happens in other nations? They have tons of laws in other nations, and they're nations of laws, just like ours. Now, what is the question about the nation of laws?
Or are we a nation of political will?
Every nation is a nation of political will. Again,
we're both.
It's a nation. Let me put it this way. When you go to a state legislature, all you do for 2 years or 4 years or 10 years is make new laws. They don't unmake laws. So just think, if you had 1,000 laws in 1980, now there's 10,000 laws. They don't reverse them. My proposal is, for every law you create, you got to get rid of a law. That's my new proposal. Anybody want to second that? You could be an obscure law, but you got to get rid of a law when you create a new law. It doesn't have to be in the same subject area. It could be something else. You can't just have 10 million laws. You can't have 10, and that's what you're going to get, and that's what you have all around the country, because legislatures go to the legislature and make laws all week. That's all they do.
I think Jefferson recommended that every law expires after 10 years.
Oh, okay. I'll go with that one. So, my policy is make a law, lose a law. That's my bumper sticker. Make a law, lose a law. I think Trump had the same thing with every new
regulation.
Right. That's where I got it from. That's where I think I got it from that. You got to get rid of a regulation for every new one you make. I'm saying the same thing with the state legislature.
Oh, totally agree. I mean, we have too many damn laws. And I like Jefferson's idea too, because it would expire. So you have to vote and say, do we keep it? Do we keep it? You have to put it back through.
You're talking about George Jefferson from the Jeffersons?
Yeah. The one with Sally Hennings.
Because I'm moving on up to the east side.
He's moving on up to Charlottesville.
to a brand new apartment in the sky. Wheezy. Coming home, Wheezy.
All right, let me jump back into here. Mark, do you know the writer Harlan Ellison, and what is your opinion of him and his works?
I don't know him personally. I know he gets into a lot of fights in pool rooms, and Frank Sinatra hates his guts. That's all I know about Harlan Ellison. And I don't even know if he's alive. I think he's a science fiction writer, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Very hot-headed. And look at this, $100 from Gregory Brinkley.
There's two of them. It's Huntley and Brinkley in that photo there.
I think it's more like Brinkley and
the greatest Nordic couple of all time. Look at this. They must be from Sweden or something. Look at that little photo of them.
Great smile.
That's a good-looking couple.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. And thank you very much. Wow. Major generous and no question. It's like, wow. All right, so let's look at this story. I pulled this one up on my own. I love
that means I know nothing about it, but go on.
Oh, okay, yeah, well, you know what?
I don't know what he's talking about. I'm telling you right now, I've never heard of this story.
All right, have you talked to a lot of Native Americans in your lifetime?
Me?
Yeah, I have. But
okay. I grew up in Brooklyn. I mean, my grandfather worked for the Brooklyn Eagle, which was a newspaper in Brooklyn. That's as close as I got to an eagle feather.
Okay, well, there you go. If you grow up around them, I'm from Arizona. There's a lot of tribes there. And you go to them, you say, what do you call yourself? And they go, Indian.
Oh, right.
You know, because the whole Native American, and some of them will even say, why would I want to name myself after my oppressor?
Oh, that's a good, I never thought of that one. That's a good one, Hunley.
Well, this one I love because all these ideas quite often are pushed by middle-aged white people, quite often women, about how we're supposed to talk about other people and what they think. And one of these big oppressions was a football team in Washington. It was called the Redskins. And we had to get rid of that, right? Because it was offensive.
Cleveland Indians.
Cleveland Indians, yes. Yeah. There was Kansas City Chiefs,
right.
Braves, Atlanta Braves for baseball. But anyway,
well, no, they're still the Braves, though.
No, I know, and
they used to have Chief Nakahoma, which is a little racist, who banged a drum in left field. Boom, 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 boom. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
Whatever.
There was a guy named Chief Nakahoma for the Braves.
I love this though. There is now an Indian group who are suing, saying we want the Redskins back.
That's great. That's really good. You know, they cherry picked a tiny tribe to do their bidding when they started this, paid this tiny tribe to be offended. And now in a similar story up in Portland, the Democrats are trying to get votes to undo their ban on plastic bags and bring plastic bags back. So this is a theme now among Democrats to get stuff back that they banned a couple of weeks before.
Oh, I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, the plastic bags got to come back now. What is this one here? The Commanders, a name that nobody in the world can even remember, in federal court this morning, upend longstanding cancel culture narrative about racism in sports. Where is this guy then? I mean, it's a little late now. Well, I mean, is this guy the coach or something?
No, this is the guy who's head of the Native American Guardians Association, and he's accusing them of defamation, etc. There were a lot of Indians. If you go around and ask them questions, they would say, "No, we're fine with it."
Oh yeah,
no, leave it alone. Yeah. You know, they would find a couple people, or even better, they would find the Marlon Brando Indians, you know, who would show up at the Academy Awards. Oh wait,
the one I mean, the one that bothered. I mean, this one was bad. This one was bad, but so was the Cleveland Indians. That was another one. I think one's the Commanders, the other's what the hell are the Indians? The Defenders now?
I don't know.
Is there any Cleveland Indian fans out there? What was the name of the team now? The Defenders or something? Some insane. It's like the Commanders.
Yeah.
What are the Indians called now? The Cleveland Indians.
I don't know. I'm waiting to see on the chat. I haven't seen it come in yet.
Someone will come up.
Guardians.
So it's the same. It's very similar.
Guardians and the Commanders.
Right, right. I can't remember either one of those.
Scott from New York City says the zipperheads.
That's funny. That's funny. Way to go, Scott. Way to go.
Oh God. Oh,
that's a good one.
They're getting rough.
Cleveland. Cleveland vagina. Well, that's a hole. You can dig a hole for yourself there. Holy crap.
Oh,
the guy's name was Vag something or other. I don't know if you saw the guy's name.
All right. Monica wants our responses to Pompous Bill.
Which Bill?
That was O'Reilly. We talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
We can't give him too much air.
Hope he shows up with Meathead and Alec Baldwin. That would be great.
Oh my God. I still vote for Stephen King if you want to get the absolute just cringe fest from hell. Mark, I second your comment. I told my wife today that she was being somewhat presumptuous to assume that Feinstein died today. What do I win, Johnny?
You win a Chevrolet Lewitt vacuum cleaner and a trip to Puerto Vallarta. I used to hear that all the time in the game shows when I was a kid. And I go, where the hell is Puerto Vallarta? Is that a real place? And I never, ever found a Chevrolet Lewitt vacuum cleaner. Those were the two things they gave away on every game show. That's what you win, Pasha. If you could find them, I'd like to know if they're real.
Oh, by the way, a couple weeks ago, Bob Barker died. We forgot to mention it.
Right. This is Bob Barker, who sent his henchmen to arrest my friend Joe Coleman for biting the head off a mouse during his performance art routine in the Lower East Side of Manhattan, which made the front page of the New York Post. They went down. Who knew that the ASPCA had handguns, were carrying weapons, sidearms? They went down and they knocked on Joe's door, Joe Coleman, the performance artist, and arrested him at gunpoint for biting the head off a mouse on the orders of the incredibly liberal Bob Barker.
No, it's an important mouse. All right, Rick Galenas. I'm in Georgia. The GOP is distancing themselves from Trump to try to get the Senate back and act like moderates to keep a GOP governor. We now have 2 Dem senators. Races have been very tight.
Good point. That's a good analogy. I mean, I kind of knew that, but the way he lays it out there makes sense. I don't know if it's going to work because as the Senate goes, so goes the nation. You know what I mean? This McConnell, I heard, died moments ago. Is that true, or he's still alive? I'm sorry.
I missed that headline. Okay, he might have frozen.
Right. They have 2. Who's the other Democratic senator? They still got the black preacher, and then they've got the other guy. I forget who the other one is. That runoff was really helpful. The runoff was pretty helpful. As soon as they announced runoff, I knew we were finished.
Oh yeah, Walker got walked down the way.
Yeah. Like Walker. As soon as the runoff occurred, I knew Walker was toast.
All right. What's the most commonly run distance in sports? Answer: 90 feet.
That is true. There's no sport that runs that same distance all the time. That's a weird question, but he's absolutely right, because that's the distance between home plate to first base, and it's run repeatedly in every sport because you got to run to first base. Second base, of course, is 90 feet away, but you may not get there. But you got to run to first base, and that 90-foot distance is not copied. There's no similar distance in any other sport that is the same exact distance in any other sport. That's a great barroom question, by the way.
Okay.
I never even thought of that. That's a fantastic question.
All right. Bobby Bronco. My first MLB game was the Mets Dodgers at Shea Stadium. Mets knocked Koufax out in the 4th inning and won 10-4. Wow. I was 8 years old. I'll never forget it.
You know, we used to have box seats at Shea. My grandfather worked for Metropolitan Life, and they had a box there, and we used to go sort of doubleheader. It was Koufax and Drysdale, and Koufax won the first game of the twin bill. Drysdale pitched, made it like 8 innings, and then they won the second game out of the bullpen. But that was like the best doubleheader I ever went to with my grandfather at Shea. Mets Dodgers, by the way. I don't remember that particular game, but that must have been 66, you know, for that. No, 66, we lost 4 straight to the Baltimore Orioles, the Dodgers, in the World Series, with Willie Davis making 3 errors in 1 inning, got the goat horns from Dick Grote. I forget the guy's name. Dick, the sports writer for the Daily News. I forget his last name. But he got the goat horns, Willie Davis, and he destroyed Koufax's scoreless inning streak. And God, did I hate Willie Davis after that. Really hated Willie Davis's guts.
Right. Out of curiosity, was your grandfather your hero as a kid?
Yeah, no, he definitely was. I mean, because I didn't have a father until I was, my mother got divorced when I was born. So I had a stepfather like at the age of 6. And then they had 2 additional kids, which were their kids. So my grandfather was really my father, and my grandmother was my mother, because my mother had to move back in with her parents and me, and she had me when she was 18, so she became like my sister. If that makes any sense to anybody at home, try to figure out that strange relationship.
That That is kind of weird.
Yeah.
All right.
TMI.
I mean, it's interesting. All right. You sent me this editorial on Wall Street Journal, which is, of course, behind the paywall, but about
it wasn't when I read it. Yeah.
Kendi.
Yeah, he made a deal, or they made a deal with him from Boston University to give him this institute that's now in complete collapse. The money's gone. The people were abused who work there. It was wokes running the wokes, and Boston University. The article is by a professor there who said that he is single-handedly with his ideas, not personally. They adapted all of his insane racial ideas internally as a school. They're talking about the professors and stuff and how they went after each other. It's become like this incredibly insane woke university now where they're eating of their own, to sum it up. And this professor wrote an editorial about it. He didn't go after Xendi personally, but that's a story for another day, because I believe he probably stole the money.
Shocking. You mean like BLM?
Well, he is BLM. I mean,
it's still, they're after him and the others. Remember the $6 million house in LA?
Yeah, I remember. It's right over here in Topanga Canyon. I know exactly where that house is. I mean, that woman never showed up again. As soon as she got those two houses, she was done.
Now, all the local chapters of BLM are suing the central organization. There's $90 million missing.
No, what a surprise. I traced the money. At one point, I got into it, and I traced the money to a post office box up in Seattle at a UPS drop. No, I swear to God, Hunley. I traced the money to a post office box in a UPS store in one of those.
I have one of those. Yeah,
that's what. And a guy they had a guy who every other day would show up and open the box and take all the checks and disappear. And that was the office of BLM West Coast in Seattle, was this UPS post office box.
You can't make it up.
Nope.
Amazing. All right. You sent me this earlier. This I actually find hopeful that somebody is training people on the First Amendment, for God's sake.
Yeah, this is a good story out of University of Nebraska. There's a couple other schools doing it. They've had it, and they're going to start training their law students on the importance of free speech, despite the political aspects of the particular case. The odd thing that this has to be done, but nevertheless, a couple of these schools are beginning to train students in litigation skills and uphold constitutional freedoms, regardless of individual political disagreements. Bizarre that you have to say that, but nevertheless, it's a good positive news story regarding the First Amendment. The other story there, if you go back 1 second, there's a story, this is from the Fix, by the way, on Heather McDonald being at Berkeley.
Call today Black privilege, and you guys are going to go nuts.
This one, you mean?
Yeah, that one's great. This is great. This is even better, this story.
Well, they all run together.
Wait, listen to the crowd. Wait.
I think that's a valid perspective. It is as I say, it is hard to believe that we could have switched to that degree from white privilege to what I would call today Black privilege, and you guys are going to go nuts at that term. I send it out there with full knowledge, but I would say that standards are not racist. Okay, well, thank you for the question, Dominic. I think I would say just the opposite, which is that I do believe that Blacks can meet the standards and that we should not lower them on behalf of Blacks. What I hear from many Black leaders today is not we'll meet the standards and beat them, but lower them on our behalf. And I think that's condescending. We have recently, New York City pays out $1 billion in damages because its teacher licensing exam had a disparate impact on Black test takers. And so the demand was get rid of the test rather than make sure that more Blacks can pass the teacher licensing exam. I can tell you that was not a racist test. It was seeking basic knowledge of capacity to do basic math, no basic history, basic science. And yet, rather than say, okay, let's make sure we're preparing, the solution today is always throw out the test. I think that is the wrong answer. Standards are not racist. Everybody should be working. The family culture must support a culture of high academic achievement. That's what we see in Asians, and they're whooping everybody's ass. You walk down the hall, it is disproportionately Asian because those parents are.
It's worse, Mark, because there's a real problem between some of the black community and Asians. They don't like Asians.
Well, I don't know about that. The point of the matter is what Heather McDonald says is absolutely true. And later on in this particular thing, and she says right there that the Asian parents are all over these kids, browbeating them. These parents who are monitoring. She goes on to explain how Asian parents are really tough on their kids, as are Jewish parents. And it is the parents and the family, and they don't want to hear that because their families are shattered. They don't believe in a nuclear family. They don't believe in it. When you have a 90% single parent household for generations, you have never experienced a two parent household. What she's saying, Heather McDonald, is the reason the Asians and to a slightly lesser degree, the Jewish families, Jewish kids are so far ahead of them in the class is simply because they have two parents browbeating the crap out of them to do their homework. And that's all it really takes.
That's what Larry Elder's whole campaign is.
I know.
And literally, he's a one issue candidate, and he's saying to, especially fathers at home. But
right, he's absolutely right. He had a father at home, and his father tortured him to work in that restaurant as a waiter, but it gave him a work ethic that he never would have had. And he went on to become a lawyer and everything else. The point of the matter is, Heather McDonald goes into the belly of the beast, Eric. I mean, this woman should be a Secretary of Education.
Oh, please, yes.
Just make her Secretary of Education if we get a second term now. That would be a great job for her.
Or really. Jonathan Haidt would be good too. I mean, people
Haidt's wishy-washy. He can go either way. But she knows the education departments. She knows how the schools work. And I think that this woman would be a great, if she would accept it. I mean, it's a thankless job. Obviously, she's got to deal with the communist teachers unions that are out there, especially LA and New York. I mean, those are complete Marxist organizations. And that reminds me of the story that I sent you about the woman who's the librarian. Yes, Hunley, we're back to her. This Emily Drabinsky, the Marxist American Library Association chief.
Yep. Apparently, just lovely. Specifically, the Marxist lesbian.
That's how she identifies herself. Right.
I've got to get those extra labels in there, Mark. I mean,
she's got a lot of extra labels.
I bet she has pronouns in her titles.
That I don't know, but a number of states have bailed out of this national association. I think Missouri, Texas, a couple other states are starting to bail out.
Montana, maybe?
Montana, I think, bailed. I forget what it says here, but she has
Montana, Texas, Missouri,
and 9 more considering it based on GOP. 9 more. This woman's what they're trying to say is to use the libraries as rallying points for the Marxist movement, which they're already doing. I mean, this like I talked about on this show for 2 years. The library here in where I live in Los Feliz is the most leftist institution in the community. They wore masks and forced the employees and the visitors to wear masks way past COVID, way past. And it wasn't because of any germs. It was a swastika on an armband. That's what it was. And it was a badge of allegiance. So let's face it, that's what we're talking about here, people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I showed this to Leslie and she was like, good. She hopes all the states get out and drop all their funding and they just shrivel up and die.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea. I mean, CUNY librarian, she went to City University of New York. Wow.
I'm going to jump forward because we've got Beavis coming in hot here. Nazis went to Canada and the United States, slowly took over. Your thoughts about Californians moving into Texas? Is that the commie plan to take over Texas or us?
Beavis, I appreciate the money, Beavis. First of all, thank you so much. That's huge. These are 19 different ideas here that you're throwing out. Nazis went to Canada and to the United States. They didn't just go to Canada. Here in Operation Paperclip, if you look at the 2 episodes, they had to be brought in. They didn't show up like the Mexicans crossing the border to go to San Diego. They were brought in. It was fought by the State Department. It was done secretly by the intelligence, ONI and CIA, who snuck them in. It wasn't like an immigration program. And a few got into Canada, probably far less than got into our thing for Operation Paperclip. We used them as rocket scientists and spies. Canada didn't have that. So they had less need for Nazis. They didn't. I don't remember the Canadian Moon Project going to the moon. There's no Werner von Braun of Canada, right, Eric?
Yeah. Did you see though that somebody had posted a special 60 Minutes from the 80s where Pierre Trudeau admitted letting in Nazis because they were definitely not communists.
Right. No. I don't say that they didn't get in, but you put that question back up because I want to address the second part of this question. The Californians who are moving to Texas, they're fleeing. These are the Republicans leaving California, for Christ's sakes. This is the conservatives fleeing California. The liberals love it here. They hate Texas. There's none of them are going to Texas. Believe me, Texas is like going to hell for them. They hate Texas. The ones that are going there, you should open up your freaking arms and embrace them as people who are fleeing Berlin in 1933. That's what we're talking about. It's not a commie plan to take over Texas. They have that commie plan is coming from your south, from the border, bro. That's their commie plan to take over Texas. It's not coming from people fleeing the California Uber alles and our now $8 gallon of gas that's now coming, which is $4 of taxes and $4 of gas. They were grilling Newsom yesterday about the gas prices that are now at like $7.80. I predicted over a year ago on this show and elsewhere, it will go to $10 before the election. I'm sticking with that. And it's all taxes. I was in, where were we? Montgomery, Alabama. The gas was $3.20, right? And anyway, the reason I'm mentioning this is because Newsom blamed the fossil fuel industry for gouging profit and profiteering. Okay. Why don't they gouge in Arkansas where it's 305? Why don't they gouge people in Nebraska? Do they only gouge people in California? The argument itself, if I could ever become press secretary for Trump, will be the insanity that half of that is taxation. If you look next to the pump, if you look next to the pump, it has a list of all the taxes that are on there. You could eliminate that in one day in California. He chooses not to because that money, $4 a gallon, goes to pay for his communist programs in the state of California. That's why he needs the gas to be $8. So $4 of it could pay for his giveaways. Yesterday, he signed legislation. He woke up one day and said, I will dictate what your father's business, Hunley, will pay its workers. That's what he said yesterday. I have decided that fast food workers who don't have to work there, it's usually a college job in the old days, now must make $20 an hour to work in a fast food place. I've decided, not the owners of the business, he himself decided that it has to be a minimum of $20 an hour. Now, there is a federal minimum wage, and it doesn't involve Newsom and the state of California. He decided to get this vote. He stood in back of the SIEU union yesterday where they were all raising their fists, power to the people. And Newsom was the only white person there. Everyone else was a person of color. And he addressed how they all worked in fast food places. You don't have to work there. It's not a federal law. He has decided to give away the money of all of these fast food places and demand them pay $20 an hour to anyone who works there. And
no problem. His unemployment will go up.
I know.
Because they'll just put in robots next. Just do automatic stores. They've already tested them out. And then more on Beavis here. Save more money for Mark's book fund. I just got home from doing foot surgery all day. I was looking of Mark's spur the whole time. Any rumors of the JFK murder car memorabilia saved by LBJ or the Secret Service as a macabre trophy?
It's more than a rumor. That's exactly what did happen. He took the car to Australia. I mean, he rode in that car. There were plenty of other cars. He renovated that particular car. Replaced the windshield, had bulletproof underneath put in, bulletproof plating on the advice of J. Edgar Hoover, who had a bulletproof car, put in a bulletproof roof. The same car that was the Deathmobile, as I call it, to quote Animal House. The car was renovated by LBJ, and I think it was a trophy. He could have had a brand new car. He didn't need to renovate that car. It's absurd. It's absurd. As for the Bone Spur, I got a cortisone injection, and so far so good.
All right, congratulations.
Thanks, Beavis. Thank you. He wants to shave. He's going to come to Dallas, and he's going to shave it during the broadcast, during the live broadcast, which will be a great event.
Okay, so we will have a screen up because I don't need to see that shit. All right, James Holbrook, you guys are awesome.
Well, is that Holbrook? Is that a real picture of the guy?
I think so.
All right.
Thank you, James.
Holbrook. This Holbrook loves to go fishing, and I found this the other day. This is from James Holbrook. I found my Red Devil lure. Unfortunately, I found it in a very precarious position. It was in one of my pockets, and that's how I found it. So that's for him. He can appreciate that because I know that guy goes fishing.
All right, Greg DeFeo. Mark, did you see the YouTube?
Wait. Is he related to Ron DeFeo, the Amityville horror murderer? Greg DeFeo? Okay,
I don't know. Mark, did you see the YouTube video of Howard Schultz testifying before Congress, accused of discrimination against employees who want to organize?
Look, go to Jeff Bezos. How about every time Jeff Bezos' people go to organize for Amazon, the biggest donor to the Democratic Party? Schultz obviously grew up in the projects in Brooklyn. He's a Starbucks guy, right? Yeah, who ran for president briefly, grew up in the projects. He weeps crocodile woke tears. But when it comes to unionization, woo, not my company. Jeff Bezos won't allow it, and Schultz won't allow it. How about my favorite was the open bathroom policy, where Schultz said, bring me, you're tired, you're poor, you're homeless. Let them shoot up and dump in my bathrooms. And all of a sudden now there's a whole list of rules. When you go into Starbucks, those bathrooms are locked tighter than Fort Knox, and those employees aren't letting anybody in there. So his open bathroom policy went by the wayside.
Which is obvious. It's like reality hits.
Let me tell you something. When they go into those bathrooms, they live in there. I mean, they bathe in there, they shoot up in there, they defecate in there, and then normal people go in. You're walking in on them. It's a shit show, and I mean that.
Well, that's the public libraries now.
Yeah. They live in there. They live in there.
All right, Blue Bonnet. Which day will you both be speaking in Dallas? Or
Saturday.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact time yet, but it's Saturday.
Poindexter Hunley, my genius.
That's your cousin. That's your cousin, yeah.
I guess. Mom says I can subscribe after my 10th birthday.
Our under 10 audience is growing leaps and bounds. It's really enormous at this point. Thousands of under 10-year-olds. Remember to subscribe, especially if you're under 10, because that is our core junior audience of junior achievers. If you can remember to subscribe, I know you're under 10 and you might be having hypoglycemic issues. You may be having a Twinkie defense. You may be watching cartoons. I don't know what's going on, but if you can subscribe, or as Soupy Sales, I think, said, go into your mother's pocketbook, take out some money and mail it to us at P.O. Box 383.
That's right.
Hunley, right?
He got a deep shit for that, did he not?
Right. Yeah. Soupy said, I know his son, Tony Sales, and I know Hunt Sales not as well, the drummer. But Tony told me that story himself, his son, Tony Sales, who Tony Sales, great musician, and his brother Hunt, the drummer, lives in Austin, I think.
All right.
Of Tin Machine, by the way, they backed up David Bowie in case you want some more rock and roll obscurity. Wow. Tin Machine toured with David Bowie and was his backup band for a couple of years.
Yeah, I remember Tin Machine.
Okay. That's Tony and Hunt.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Carl Burkhalter, you were correct about O&I. LBJ was Navy. He kept it funded as a senator.
Yeah.
They coordinated with CIA operative, especially those in boats. Duh.
Yeah, and that's where everybody gets involved because the Secretary of the Navy is Connolly. Oswald writes to the Secretary of the Navy because he's O&I as a Marine. The O&I destroys their records when they're called to testify under oath by the House Assassinations Committee in the late 70s. They come in and smugly say, we burned every record we had on Oswald. Go fuck yourselves. No other organization did that except ONI, and ONI, was the backup, was the intelligence group, that the umbrella that Oswald operated under. Not CIA, folks. He was ONI.
All right.
I mean, he had a file. They had files on him, but it doesn't mean he worked for the CIA. He worked for the ONI.
True. Dustin Russell. Does Harris end up back in the Senate and Newsom get upped to Veep? Nope.
Let me tell you something. That anything can happen, because anything can happen, and we don't know what's going to happen behind the scenes. And Dustin, thanks for the $4.99. The reality of it is that could happen, and people are thinking too rationally about these moves. These cats are not ashamed to do this. I mean, the fact that I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm just saying I wouldn't put anything past them at this point. I mean, they have told Newsom that he is next in line for the presidency. Everybody knows that now. He's the next guy. When does he get in? When he dies? When Biden dies? When Biden gets yanked out? When Biden leaves for illness? We don't know. We don't know what the deal is. Would it surprise you tomorrow if he just said, I can't go on anymore, I'm too ill, I'm turning this over to Vice President Harris, and then Newsom is vice president, right? And then Newsom runs for president, and from the vice presidential seat. Think about what I'm saying. Let's say Biden resigns tomorrow for health.
I can see that, but you can't get rid of Kamala. No,
Of course not. That's why I'm saying you wait until as close as to the election as you can, right? You then have Biden step aside. Newsom gets nominated as vice president. Nobody's going to block that. He's going to become vice president, and he runs as president. She remains as a gatekeeper, as a stopgap, and Newsom gets on the ballot where Biden is and runs for president. She's president temporarily. She would be president for a number of months until the election. That I could see.
All right. Pasha said, I did find Puerto Vallarta, the vacuum cleaner, though. Okay.
It's a Shefflet Lewitt vacuum cleaner. I've never seen a picture of it. Puerto Vallarta, I somewhere in Mexico, I don't know where. It must be a resort that all the game shows used. It costs about $218 to get in, I think.
And Pasha's BTK is also waiting for tickets. So
okay, so when you come to Dallas, you're gonna get a ticket to Puerto Vallarta, and then we will take apart under the influence of crystal meth a Shefflet Lewitt vacuum cleaner and put it back together as quickly as possible.
As soon as we find one.
Yeah.
All right. So you got a story here. Elon Musk decrying witch burning of Russell Brand.
Yeah. Look at this. You talk about how quickly he's turned his thing around. You know what I mean? The initial thin-skinned Russell Brand defender was not there because Russell Brand mentioned Rumble. And Pavlovsky said, thank you very much. And who attacked him? But the thin-skinned Elon Musk.
Which, by the way, can I point out the hypocrisy to that, too? Yeah. Because, Pavlovsky was pissed off because Elon Musk brought Tucker aboard. And he's like, look, only on X or Twitter at the time can you have the freedom. And Pavlovsky's like, oh, hell no, we got it on Rumble. So now this is just turnabout. And it's like, Elon, don't get pissy. You did the same crap with Tucker. He's got Russell. I mean, they've got contracts with the company. He's not saying that.
No, but I'm saying he went after Russell Brand. I mean, here's Russell Brand being attacked by governments and corporations, and Musk is more concerned that Russell Brand didn't give him a shout out. He must have woken up after so much criticism and now said, I mean, he's sticking his finger up in the wind. He was down at the border yesterday, by the way.
Yeah, very interesting on that.
Very interesting. Pass. Yeah, what is that about? I mean, he is going to start cranking up the pressure.
He's a Texan.
I know. Hook 'em horns, Mm-hmm.
So, I think it's a matter
Hold on. The sign of the fork.
Oh,
eat your parents. Eat your parents, Bernadine Dawn. And somebody was right. It wasn't about the Manson killing. It was about the LoBianca killings, which happened right over here in Los Feliz, because he used to own Albertsons, and I met his grandson a number of years ago. Came back to LA for the first time of Tony LoBianca. Tony LoBianca, I think that was his first name. And his wife that were killed by the Manson family a couple of days after the Tate killings.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was like the next day, literally.
Yeah, it was the fact that the police could not connect the dots between the two killings has always shocked me beyond any belief. It was the media that connected the dots of the Tate LoBianca thing, writing "kill the pigs" on the wall and blood. I don't know. It might be something else, Sarge. How do you know it's the same killers?
Leo, they're saying.
Leo LoBianca. Okay, right.
Yeah, I couldn't remember.
Who's Tony LoBianca? Oh, it's an actor from that's
still living.
That's an actor from the 7 Ups. That Tony from the great movie 7 Ups.
All right, we've got some locals tips here. So America, Mark, have you watched Daniel Sheehan lectures on JFK assassinations? Any comments or thoughts regarding the works?
I don't know anything about it. I mean, what's his thing? What do I do?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's a lot of people who do lectures, folks.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I mean, I know the major people. I never heard of him. I mean, there's people who know me. I know them. I don't know. He doesn't seem to be one of them. So I don't know.
All right. Interested Party said, my training in the 70s at McDonald's was that employees don't confront or stop thieves. Hand over the money and don't get killed. If robbers learn to expect employees to resist/fight back, they will be quicker to shoot the clerk rather than just taking the money. That's the theory.
Okay, I'm not talking about McDonald's and armed robbery. I was talking about shoplifters at Target. And you could conflate the two, but they're not the same.
Well, fair enough. Otto wants to know, since you can see the future, who wins the Super Bowl and what's the final score?
I have no idea. I don't even know who's going to be in it. I mean, that's just a crapshoot. As our general manager has said, Friedman, the guy we have, the playoffs are a crapshoot.
Wow. Moondoes sent a tip saying that I had the link wrong in the show notes. I believe it's corrected now.
Okay.
Al Parks said the most commonly run distance in sports, 66 feet, the length of a cricket pitch. 1 billion Indians will agree.
I don't know if there's a billion Indians doing that, but there's quite a few Americans who do it. Quite a few Dominicans, quite a few people from Korea now play baseball. Quite a few Chinese play baseball. We have a number of Chinese baseball players. I would dispute that, my friend.
Okay. I will let you guys fight it out. And Mundos sent a tip saying we're only about 50 miles from a huge subdivision where thousands of illegal aliens are being housed, with more moving in daily. This is not only a major failure. Yes. This is not only a major failure of Biden, but also Governor Do Nothing Abbott.
Okay, first of all, it's not a failure of Biden. This is the program. You got to understand this. There's no critical program or critical Biden program. This is the program. This is what they want. They could end it tomorrow. He wants to flood them into the United States and turn this country brown because of his insanity about an invented term called white supremacy. As for Abbott, at least he's putting them on buses and sending them to sanctuary cities every day. Could he do more? Absolutely. But he's doing this at least. So I have mixed criticism of Wheelchair Willie, but at least he's doing the bus program. I mean, she's going crazy here too, Karen Bass, when the busloads of Texas immigrants shipped by Abbott arrive in LA every day, and the other Marxist in New York is going crazy over the same program. So it's having an effect. I mean, I got to give it to Abbott. It is making a dent. They're going crazy in New York over this, and she's not happy about it here. Should he call out the National Guard? Absolutely. Absolutely. They should be right on that border, and everybody knows it. What's his name? West down there, Colonel West, who was a Texan, the black dude who ran for Colonel West. Is that his name?
I don't know. Chat, save me.
Yeah, it's Colonel West. He talked about the fact that if elected, he would call it the National Guard day one.
Okay.
He lost the election, but nevertheless, that was part of his platform.
All right. Mary S. with 10 euros. Most informative and entertaining American history show on YouTube. Hi from Cork, Ireland.
You know, half of my family is Irish, so I have a lot of respect for Mary and Cork and the Irish people. A lot of my storytelling, I have to give it up to the Irish half of my DNA. That's where it comes from. The Irish are the best storytellers in the world, and the Irish know that. Alan West. What did I say? Colonel Alan West, right? Colonel West. Okay. The Irish are the best storytellers, and my father was Irish, and that's where it comes from.
Jews are the funniest, and Irish are the best storytellers.
Yeah, if you combine the two, I mean, Bill Maher is half Jewish, half Irish. The reverse of me, though, his father was Jewish, his mother was Irish. I think that's the same with Ben Stiller. Ann Mara was his mother, and Jerry Stiller was his father, which is why both of them are douchebags.
So technically, they're not Jews.
No, they're not at all. They're not at all. Absolutely. And both of them are problematic.
Okay. Lisa Stiles. Glad to see Palomaro on JFK agenda. He once said he skipped conferences to just rehash the same info. How do we add to the agenda? How does this affect us today, and what are we going to do about
Well, he's going to talk about Landis. I think we got him out of retirement, Eric and I.
Landis did too, because Landis talked trash about his book.
Yeah, so we're going to have a good time with Vince down there, and we're going to talk about the magic bullet and Paul Landis and Sam Kinney, who claimed that he found the magic bullet, and my mother, who found the magic bullet, and Mel Torme, who certainly in 1958 found the magic bullet at the Flamingo. So there's a lot of people who found the magic bullet. Apparently, we're going to discuss that in Dallas.
Awesome.
I hope you come down there.
Oh, definitely. Scott Benbow with a super sticker. Thank you very much. Lisa Stiles, my solution. Trump runs for senator and turns his machine to support candidates such that no party has a majority in either the House or Senate. Everything changes.
He runs for senator in New York or Florida? Florida, I guess.
I guess. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if he doesn't prevail, sure.
Well, there is that Speaker of the House thing that was discussed with Gates and some of the others. That's if they force out McCarthy, that's an open seat.
Sure. Beavis Wallace is back again and coming in hot.
Well, he's got different photos every time, or is this?
No, it's the same pup. It's always the puppy. Love the Dead Kennedys, California Uber Ales.
Uber Alice.
Okay. I meant any rumors of memorabilia of JFK's body, such as blood, bone, bullet pieces.
I've never heard that. Just that RFK took the brain from the archives and removed the brain that was in a steel case. That was done by RFK. And not for memorabilia reasons, whatever his reasons were. It was just a portion of the brain that was left there from the autopsy. Distract Americans from voter fraud, buy books. Okay, so D.H. Peligro was a very close friend of mine. He passed away this year from a heroin overdose. He was a drummer for the Dead Kennedys, as most people know, also for the Red Hot Chili Peppers for a while. So there's a shout out to DH in rock and roll heaven. But yeah, I think the changing of the windshield and the cleaning out of blood, bone, and bullet references was on LBJ through Rowley, the head of the Secret Service, and they cleaned it out once it got back to the DC garage. And also, as we know now in Parkland, they began to get the soap and water out and clean it immediately. But I don't know about LBJ holding on to anything of value from the actual physical body. I know he wanted to get his hands on the body of Jackie Kennedy, and that was unrelenting. And we hear in the phone calls to Jackie, him insisting that she come over to the White House repeatedly. The border talk from DC, again, there's no talk about the border in DC. And I don't think it's distracting Americans from voter fraud. I think it's flooding the United States with people from Africa. And RFK Jr. was down there. Everyone was an African. They were coming out of Kenya and Ghana and West Africa, through Nicaragua and through El Salvador and through Central America to the border. I don't know where they're getting the money to do this. This must be tens of thousands of dollars. They look like they have no bags, they have no suitcases, they have no belongings, and yet we're supposed to believe that somehow tens of thousands of Africans are flying to Central America and then taking buses to the border of Mexico and then coming in and getting a plane ticket from FEMA to New York. I'd like to know how they're getting from Africa to Central America, because that flight has to be thousands of dollars, Hunley.
Or boat.
What boat is taking them from Africa to what boat is taking
I don't know. I mean, I haven't really checked the,
No, they said they're flying and then taking a bus. This is what RFK found out when he met them at the border, and others have found out. They're flying to Central America and then taking buses to and across the actual border itself.
Well, you know who's investing in Africa?
Chinese?
Mm-hmm.
Whoa,
I wonder. Just a thought. I don't know anything.
I never thought about that. It might be a Chinese plan. I'm going to have to think about this over the week. That's interesting. I never thought about that.
All right. Sipin's Glow.
Tony and the Tigers. Right. That's funny. Rundgren, Bowie, Jacob passed. Not going to happen. Nice try, though.
Right.
It's not going to happen. But good try. Todd Rundgren. That's interesting.
Scott Binbo, or
how about Elliot Easton? Elliot Easton from the Cars, who's an old friend who only wore wigs. He had a big collection of wigs. One of the great guitar players of all time, Elliot Easton, has a collection of guitars like I've never seen in my life at his house out in Calabasas. But and a great guy. I think he's from Boston originally. No, he's from Long Island. I take it back.
All right. Scott Bimbo was going to ask if the book Atom Spy Hoax by William A. Rubin was written by a spook. My uncle Alfred Slack has a chapter in it. I did my own research so Mark wouldn't call me a fat bastard and get off my couch and find out.
I don't know anything about the Atom Spy hoax. I'd be curious to hear about it. I don't know who William Rubin is. And your uncle, Alfred Slack, of course, everybody knows him because of what he did as a slacker years later. He is the origin of the phrase slacker, came from Alfred Slack because he was the original fat bastard who wouldn't get off his couch. Or so I've heard. I don't know if that's true.
But not you, Scott.
Not you. No. I'm talking about Alfred Slacker, who shortened his name because of the obvious detrimental sound effect of that to Alfred Slack. His cousin was the inventor of pants. That was Alfred Slacks.
All right. And the Mad Metropolitan.
That's a good book. That's a good book. Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, have you read The Devil's Chessboard? LBJ was lead actor, but Dulles was director. Dulles' influence didn't disappear after CIA. He represented Biggest Losers with Free, Guatemala, Cuba, Vietnam, etc. It was the Dulles Commission.
I just want to point out it was written by Dave Talbert, an extreme leftist who worships LBJ, who founded Salon.com. Check who the authors are of the books and what their politics are, people. They're not operating in a vacuum. This is a hardcore leftist Democrat named David Talbot. Go on.
All right. Bob's Your Horse sent a tip saying we need to start a Give, Send, Go campaign to send illegal immigrants to more sanctuary cities like Seattle, Portland, Minneapolis, Milwaukee.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's just a bus. That's all you need is get them on that bus. And, obviously gas is expensive, but nevertheless, I think the bus drivers might kick in to get rid of them themselves. But yeah, any sanctuary city, give them what they prayed for. Bring the sanctuary home. Let them be in the sanctuary cities that they passed that insane honorary legislation that they never thought would happen to them. They're now rescinding. It's so funny. There was, again, the city council or the board of supervisors here voted that city workers or city people couldn't go to red states that were anti-abortion. Now they've rescinded that. It's like the plastic bag thing. They passed these insane honorary laws, and then they rescind these laws. I mean, but the sanctuary city thing is a real thing. California's a sanctuary state. LA is a sanctuary city. So is New York. Ship them there. Put a tag on them. Name them all Tony. Put a name tag on them. Says Tony, which says to New York. Tony.
That was the joke about why all Italians were called Tonys, right?
Yeah. It was an Ellis Island joke.
Okay. Jonathan G94 said, writer strike is over. Cameron Pasha has done a lot of interesting commentary on the craziness. The WGA leadership is dominated by Maoist would-be revolutionaries. One particular individual is David Young, who wasn't even a writer, but a labor activist who took over the WGA during the last writer strike in 2007, kind of like a certain politician who came out of nowhere during that period of time.
Well, the SAG strike's not over. And now SAG is demanding that the writers not go back to work while they're on strike.
Solidarity, baby.
Yeah, this is really getting interesting now because SAG's demands were not met. And those demands are radically different than the WGA demands. And the WGA is a Marxist organization. It always has been. There's no doubt about it. SAG is, of course, run by, what's her name? The Brooklyn Nanny. So that's a different leadership there. The Brooklyn Nanny, who was
Fran
Drescher, who was raped twice by two brothers who raped her, broke in the first time into her house, a home invasion, went to prison, got out, and did it again by random selection. They didn't even target her. It was just one of the craziest oddities I've ever heard. She's
very disturbing and not good YouTube talk, but cool.
I'm just saying.
No,
it's in her memoir. I mean, she talks about it.
No, I mean, anyway. Rumble Rants, couple more came in. No Sniper in the Nest said between 1963 to 1966, Sandy Koufax had a record of 97 to 27 with an ERA of 1.86, 1,228 strikeouts in 1,192 innings. He pitched 31 shutouts. Right. Arguably, this was the best 4-year stretch in modern baseball.
It's not even arguable. It is the greatest stretch of all time. And he got arthritis in his elbow, and he used to soak it in pickle brine. That helped a little bit. But he could have been a pro basketball player if he chose baseball, but he could have played basketball also. Lafayette High School in Brooklyn. But he had a truncated career. That's correct.
All right. And then Indug sent a Rumble Rant saying, great show as always. Told my son to listen, check you out. He listened to 10 hours on his road trip, and now he's hooked.
Okay, this goes out to whoever that is. It's time to get a life. Get off the road, pull over.
He could be a truck driver.
Could be a truck driver. I saw a guy yesterday. He had a full-on, he had dressed his seat with a hat and a mask and a suit, and it looked like a complete person, just to get in the high occupancy lane.
Oh, yeah, that was a famous
dude. This was a good one. I've seen a bunch of them here in LA, but this guy, because there's a lot of, suit designers and creative people and wardrobe people here in LA. This one was impeccable. I mean, but the motorcycle cops, what they do here is they ride the line of the HOV lane on the passenger side, 1 inch from the window to look in, literally a foot. And they go straight down the line. And the fine is like, I want to say it's $680 if they catch you, or $550 or something. And it's not worth it, people. It's not worth it.
Good God. All right. Mundo sent a tip saying, I know Biden is encouraging the flood of aliens. Another threat to our sovereignty is the massive amount of land being bought by the Chinese.
Absolutely true. It's
and Bill
stop.
Gates, by the way. And Bill Gates.
I don't care if it's the Chinese or Bill Gates. I mean, you can't have that much power over food.
Mm-hmm. BTK. Arrogant Stillers lived at 84th and Riverside Drive.
I know. I lived at 84th and Amsterdam, so I know that. And around the corner was Seinfeld, and I used to see him all the time. And a lot of different people lived over there. I mean, I lived over there for 20 years, so I saw a lot of people living there.
All right. Will there be an episode about D.H. Byrd before November 22nd? Do you know?
Highly doubtful. Highly doubtful.
Yeah. Now
do you know where he was? Yes, he went on a hunting trip to Africa. I do know where he was. He went on an African safari.
All right.
And when he came back, he took the window frame out and put it in his house of the sniper's nest. So I do know quite a bit about G.H. Bird. I just don't think we're going to get to him before then.
I don't think we can. Yeah. YouTube censorship. It's good that you identify yourself with the toilet. Hey guys, I thought the Seymour Hersh book on Kennedy, I thought the Seymour Hersh book on Kennedy, as a person, I think Elliot Easton is the most underrated guitarist of the 1970s.
He's right about that. He's right about Easton because he is the sound of the Cars, and he went on a tour. And I've known Elliot a long time. He went on a tour of Creedence Clearwater Revisited, which had had Fogerty's brother in it, and played the John Fogerty lead, and he mastered all of the Creedence Clearwater songbook. And the bus, they were on a tour bus, and the bus stopped short, and he went flying into the windshield of the bus and broke his arm. And that was the end of the Creedence Clearwater Revisited tour. That being said, Elliot is, and then he played with Rundgren. There was that other thing he did with Rundgren. Unbelievably talented guitar player, and really has great taste. Let me put it that way.
All right. Doug responded with another Rumble rant saying, not a truck driver, a vacation road trip.
What is he
to
doing?
Her son.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay. So he's got what is it, a Winnebago or something? He's like Chevy Chase.
No. All right. Lynn
Station wagon.
I fear the Marxist deep state will try to silence this channel. You don't realize how important you are. Listen to the Notebook songs on Apple Music. Hank Williams would have approved.
Yeah, I got the CD. Now I'm playing the shit out of it. It's a great album. It's it's an album of various artists, Eric, who play Hank Williams's incomplete notes that were found in the garbage by a janitor. And Sony sued to get them back or whatever. It's a long story, but the artists were given just these random scribblings of Hank Williams, and they turned them into songs that are Hank Williams style songs, but there's various artists doing it.
Yeah, we talked about it on the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They gave it to Bob, and Bob, they gave it to some other artists afterwards.
All right. Taurus Girl. Why doesn't Mark get out of LA?
I've addressed it. I've addressed this. I am a war correspondent. If I leave LA, you're not going to know. They'd like to have nobody here who's covering this stuff. They really would. They'd like me to leave. I am covering this like Ernie Pyle, somebody said in the comment section, covering World War II. There are war correspondents who were in Germany during World War II. You didn't say get out of Germany, did you? No. You read their coverage in the New York Times. If you didn't have the war correspondents there, you wouldn't have gotten any coverage. So that's why I'm here, to cover it for you, so you know what it's like behind enemy lines.
So you and Larry Elder are going to be the last remaining sane voices.
I don't know about it. Elder's probably fled already on foot.
He's not leaving. He's made those statements too.
I know. I don't want to be run out. There's something about it. I don't want to be run out by some other people. I really don't. I mean, it goes against my stubbornness to be run out of town.
All right. Jeff SK on Local said, thanks, guys. 1991 Twins World Series. Still top 5 of all-time World Series.
Kirby Puckett. Absolutely. No doubt about it. Great ball player.
Life of Brian. Adjust for offense of the area. Pedro Martinez's 4-year peak eclipses Koufax's. It's
possibly true. Possibly true. I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers of Pedro. Pedro was a Dodger, of course. We kept Ramon Martinez, his brother, who wasn't a bad pitcher, but we got rid of Pedro because we felt he was too small and he would break down faster than his brother Ramon Martinez. So we stupidly traded him. I don't know.
I was going to say, it sounds like a bad move.
No, it was definitely a bad move, but I'm trying to remember if we traded him for Delino DeShields, the second baseman who ended up with golf balls in his bat that shattered onto the field, suspending him from baseball because he illegally put golf balls inside of his bat. I think we traded, I could be wrong, Pedro Martinez for Delino DeShields. Somebody tell me if that's true. I know the DeShields thing had the golf balls in his bat, but so did Greg Nettles of the Yankees. also got caught when his bat exploded. He had golf balls inside his bat. So not uncommon, not uncommon. It's something that has happened in baseball.
All right, last super chat.
Oh, sure. Sure. Nobody can find the bear or the dog, by the way. You keep showing this, but they're sold out, Hunley.
They're not sold out, are they?
That's what everyone's saying in the comment section.
All right, well I'll
you keep showing us something that's sold out.
Okay, well, I have to see. They've been sold out before and they come back. You got to keep trying.
I know.
All right, Scott Bimbo saying, Rubin, the author, wrote several pieces defending Hiss and trashing Chambers. So much from my family saying the book vindicated Uncle Al. Great show.
Well, there was obviously a slew of books defending Alger Hiss. Even now, with the release of the Venona cables, they will not stop the Marxists, because if he is a liar, which he is, their entire Fernando Valenzuela, El Toro, number 34, of course. I don't know why that's up there. Well, he did have a good run.
Was that the trade? I didn't know if that was
No. Fernando came up out of Mexico by himself. That wasn't a trade. That wasn't a trade. I think he's talking about the run of pitchers for a number of years. But, but the Hiss thing, they will not stop. It's almost like the Black Knight in Monty Python's A Meaning of Life that has its arms cut off and still saying it's merely a scratch. I mean, still defending Alger Hiss. I mean, he's been caught red-handed, for Christ's sakes. Just call it a day. Stop moving the goalposts. But they can't, because they're ideologically insane, like Bernardine Dorn and Bill Ayers. They can't ever admit they're wrong.
Nope. All right. So that wraps up this on Tuesday.
Don't tell them, Hunley. Don't start telling them.
You already did earlier. Everybody rewind. Mark slipped earlier and said who it was. But
don't browbeat the witness. I mean, leave it alone, Hunley.
You can't find it. But you know what you can do is you can subscribe. Let's get to that 100,000 mark sometime. By the way, Mark, happy birthday for the show.
What?
This is the day that 2 years ago today, I built the original America's Untold Stories channel that got nuked.
Oh, wow.
So the second one we're going to celebrate as the actual birthday, but today 2 years ago was the first episode of America's Untold Stories as its own independent channel.
Wow.
That channel got blown out, rebuilt it again, and the original channel became Layback News. But
interesting trivia.
Yep. And just to let everybody know, please subscribe. Please do support the sponsor, Mundo's Coffee, and check them out in the description. It does help a ton. We've been demonetized. I'm sure you're shocked to hear. For the majority of the episode, I've already put in, to see if I can get it overturned. I had to do it last weekend too. It took them 3 days. Yeah, we're demonetized already. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Man, we did get over it on appeal, but it's 3 days in, the majority of the views are down. And having a sponsor like Mundo's and any sponsor makes a huge difference, because it helps make up for ad money and things like that from YouTube. So it really does mean a lot to us. It's good small businessman. You can also support us. Mark's got a PayPal, Mark's got a Cash App, Mark's got a Venmo. I also have all three.
Well, if you want to send in money directly towards the books itself, the way to do it is through Venmo or Cash App or PayPal for the JFK books. But go on, Eric. I'm sorry.
Right. Or if you want to just fund my bad habits, you can always send me money, because it's not going to go to books.
He's going to get a rack of lamb and he's going to lay around cooking this lamb.
Probably.
One of his grill streams. I'm trying to get books to get you some more information. So it's either lamb or books. You decide at home.
Exactly. And I'm the nicer person, so my grill has to be fed, folks.
Right? No, he's got a grill. It's the size of one of those Texas barbecues that LBJ had. You ever see those big Texas barbecues where they put an entire steer on there? Holy cow! Maybe we'll find one of those guys down in Texas who's been contacting us.
I've actually cooked on one in the Army.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a.
It's like what do they use? Like half of a 55-gallon.
No, like a flatbed trailer.
Right.
When you're cooking for 500 people, they're effective.
Maybe we could take the audience and bring them to a barbecue in Texas somewhere at somebody's ranch. Like take the 200 people that are coming to the show and transport them on Sunday to a barbecue. That would, like, I think Andy Kaufman did that in the middle of the show at Carnegie Hall. I think he walked them out into a McDonald's in the middle of the show. I could be wrong, but I think I remember something like that from Andy Kaufman.
This sounds like him.
Yeah.
Sounds like him. All right. So on that note, if you don't follow us already on Locals, please consider doing so. We're trying to put up stuff there all the time. Mark is putting more and more up there too. I will be uploading his radio appearance that he does every week to Locals, and I have the grill stream there. You can also watch our shows, by the way, on Locals. And here's the beauty of it. Our show on Tuesday got hit by 2 copyright claims, and I had to cut out 2 parts. The one
what a shock.
And the AP, but it's 100% complete on Locals and free to watch. So you can always go there, and the shows are preserved. Unstructured.
Are we gonna? Okay, so when they go to Dallas, the virtual people, where are they going to see? That's their own feed, right? It's not our feed.
No, but we will record it and put our own version up on Locals too.
Right, but I'm saying the people who pay for the virtual ticket to the Dallas conference.
Right, they'll be able to watch it on whatever. They'll have it on a server and they can download it.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, they have both a virtual and a download. So a lot of people. Virtual, you watch it live, but you can't download it. If they pay for the download, they get both. You know, the virtual and the download. A lot of the people who attend it may pay for the download as well, because that's one of the. They might go see it live and then they want to watch it again later.
I see what you're saying. Okay, that's interesting. I can't wait for the buffet. That's all I care about is that. That's going to be a nice buffet, from what I understand. Dinner with the. Imagine the conversations that people are going to have over the nuance of taking every geek who's got a specialty in JFK, putting them all together. And a lot of the geeks don't know the other people's stuff. You know, like Vince is a specialist in one area. There's a lot of Vince Palomares down there.
Like Matt Duther with JD Tippett.
Right. Who don't know anything else but their one thing. You know, it's kind of funny. Yeah, they know better than me. That's for sure.
All right. Well, on that note, everybody, we will see you on Tuesday.